Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
Somebody's favorite radio program?
Yeah. 97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
Back to the 97.3 ESPN studios, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. You know, yesterday it was Nick Earnshaw and PG at Ocean Casino Resort at the Gallery Bar booking games in the Fanatics Sportsbook. Today, we're in the Ocean Casino Resort studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank CL, and we are streaming live on YouTube and X. Just follow 973 ESPN. Coming up on the show today, we got a lot to get to. The Phillies found the way to win. How did they win? Well, it might be a reflection of part of the reason why they've won 6 of their last 8 games. Plus, 2 Eagles starters have spoken out about the offense. Yeah, that's right. Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson have spoken up about the Eagles offense. We'll play the audio coming up in about 30 minutes from now. Plus, we still have the Golic Minute. We have the Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day. Frank Klose with the Phillies mailbag coming up at 3 p.m. Adam Caplan is on his way to Foxborough right now. We'll get a latest report from him ahead of the Eagles-Patriots practice inter-squad showdown ahead of this Saturday's second preseason game. We have Phillies Fastball with Oscar Budejen coming up at 5 p.m. Oh, and I forgot, Knicks Nuggets at 4:30. Bad job by me. But we're trying to cover it all here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig, me, myself, and I doing here in the 97.3 ESPN studios. The text board is open at 609-403-0973. The White Horse RV text board with locations in Williamstown and Galloway. Your RV adventure starts here at White Horse RV, 609-403-0973. And I mentioned off the top, the Phillies have won 6 of the last 8. And the how they won, I think, is indicative of what we've been seeing for weeks now. Because they said after the game last night that the Phillies had the best record in one-run games in all of Major League Baseball. The Phillies are now, after last night's win, they are now 22-11 in one-run games. That means they're winning 2 out of every 3 one-run game they participate in. That's 66%. The Phillies have now built up a resume where they are the best team in Major League Baseball in one-run games. And when I first heard that stat after the game last night, I had to step back for a moment because I was thinking, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's a good thing if that's basically who you are as a team, that you perform well in clutch situations. But does it also say that the Phillies are good when everybody kind of steps up to the plate? And that's probably my larger takeaway. My larger takeaway is that this team seems to find a way to have stepped up since the beginning of August. I know that goes beyond the 6 of the last 8 they've won. But if you look over the games they have won in recent weeks, there is a little bit of a pattern. That pattern is, while the Phillies are winning the majority of their one-run games, not all of their wins are one-run wins. In fact, of the 6 of the last 8 they have won, only 3 of them are one-run games. So what is the real common thread in the Phillies' success in recent weeks? It's the plethora of runs they are scoring. If you go back to the MLB trade deadline, August 3rd, in the Phillies' wins, they are averaging 6.5 runs a game. They have won 11 games this month. So in those 11 wins, they are averaging 6.5 runs. Sure. Well, they have 12 wins on the month. Well, 13 wins on the month, but 11 wins since MLB trade deadline. I know it's a little confusing. We'll try to keep up here. In their losses, they're averaging 3.5 runs a game. So what's the message there? The boomer bust nature of this team is still an element that concerns you a little bit. Now, if the Phillies have kind of found their way in the last few weeks, then that's a great sign that they can make a deep run in the postseason. And part of that success has to be directly attributed to Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper has a 21-game on-base streak. It's the longest active streak in Major League Baseball, tied for the longest streak over his last 5 seasons. He hasn't done this since 2024. Wait a minute. What was 21 days ago, though? I'm trying to think back in my mind. What was 21 days ago? What could have happened? 21 days. Oh, I remember. That was the day that Bryce Harper was in Miami and came out and said the Phillies need some more help. Remember that? And for all the critics of Bryce Harper, and there have been plenty to criticize of him over the years, who said he's out there complaining, he needs to go out there and play. Well, Harper went out there and played. He has been a key part of this team's success in the last 21 days. That 21-day streak of him getting on base has directly lined up with this recent run of winning. Now, there are reports out there. There's this big meeting. Don Mattingly talked to the players about better plate approach. For the month of August, the Phillies have the most walks in all of baseball. Okay. The Phillies have one of the 5 best on base percentages in all of Major League Baseball since August 1st. So maybe there's a combination of Harper's success and also the team's hitting success. But it's also Luis Arias. Because part of the reason why I mentioned the MLB trade deadline is because something happened in the game last night that they brought up on the broadcast that I don't remember ever seeing before. When was the last time any of you saw an opposing team walk Bryce Harper to get to the next guy. It hasn't happened that often. Bryce Harper, a threat again. Bryce Harper's bat has become a weapon in the Phillies lineup again, to the point where even the Marlins are looking at him and saying, yeah, we'll take the risk and go after Luis Arias. Luis Arias is going to win the batting title. But a baseball team last night said, we would rather take our chances with Luis Arias than Bryce Harper. That is a massive statement of where Bryce Harper's bat is and where this Phillies offense is. Thanks to the Phillies now winning 6 of their last 8 and now 4 in a row, they have catapulted themselves back into the number 2 spot in the wild card. Now, they're only 1 game ahead of the Padres because the Padres themselves have won 7 of their last 10 games. So the Padres are similarly on a good run at this point. But the Phillies are pulling away from the Diamondbacks, the Marlins, and the Cardinals. And last night's game was a perfect opportunity for Philadelphia to knock the Marlins down a few notches. And how about Sanchez? Yeah, he gave up 8 hits, but only 1 run. He has 11 wins at home this year. It's the most by any Phillies pitcher since another left-hander, you might have heard of him, Cliff Lee. Yes, Christopher Sanchez is doing stuff that we haven't seen since Cliff Lee was on the mound for the Phillies. And that's why I say if the Phillies keep playing the way they are now, and they can carry this into the postseason, yes, this is an extremely dangerous baseball team. Yes, this is a team that is going to be a threat in the National League. And by the way, the Phillies offense, an offense that all of us complained about earlier this year, complained about their striking out, complained about their just up and down nature of the ball club, their inconsistencies. This offense has improved so much that they are now, scoring-wise, 9th best in the National League. A month ago, they were 12th. They have literally moved up 3 spots thanks to the recent run they have had. That's how big this scoring has been for this team. This is the offense that all of us have been waiting for. This is the offense that when Dave Dombrowski was on the John Heyman podcast, he said he was surprised at how poorly the team had started the year because he knows what they're capable of. This is what the team is capable of. And the 2 biggest catalysts for this success have been Bryce Harper and his 21-game on-base streak and Luis Arias. Those 2 bats have stabilized this lineup enough to allow everyone else to catch up. Who is everybody else? I think there's 3 guys we have to give credit to for kind of finding their way as well. Well, I say Bryce Harper and Luis Arias deserve a ton of credit for the team's success in terms of getting back on track offensively. There's a couple other guys I think we have to highlight and give a bit of a tip of the cap to as well. Because again, this offense is going to be the key to this team making a postseason run. There is no way the Philadelphia Phillies can make a deep postseason run if this offense does what it did last year against the Dodgers, the year before against the Mets, and the previous year before that in the final 3 games of the NLCS against the Diamondbacks, and that is go silent. There is no way the Phillies can win, make a deep postseason run, and have hope to win a championship if the offense is going to sputter and basically like stutter their way through the postseason. So I said there's 3 guys that deserve a lot of credit. The number one is Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott has a .320 batting average and a .445 on base percentage since the team returned from the All-Star break. He also has 15 RBI and 22 walks. And he's doing this while in the midst of changing positions in the middle of that stretch of games. He has not missed a beat. We have to look at Bryson Stott and give a hat tip to him, because what he has done in recent weeks has been something we have all been waiting for. We have been waiting for this guy to become that consistent bat that we can rely on. We have been waiting for him to become the guy that we know he can be. We all know that Bryson Stott is capable of being a good hitter. And I think that the combination of him and Bryce Harper, and then the addition of Luis Arias, are all part of the conversation. The second guy we need to highlight, and I feel like this for some people may be a bit of an eye roll, but I'm going to do it anyway. What Kyle Schwarber has done since the calendar turned to August, he finally is starting to look like Kyle Schwarber again. And it's not just because of the homers. It's because of the walks. Kyle Schwarber has 13 walks and 11 RBI in the last 16 games. This is a guy who, when he is walking, when he is forcing other pitchers to get higher in that pitch count, he is forcing the other team to have to take everyone else in the lineup a little more seriously. And the third guy that has to be highlighted, and listen, it's not that he has suddenly become somebody that I think is a great player, but something that Rob Thompson used to say that I'll kind of reappropriate here. He's starting to play to the back of his baseball card. When Alec Bohm became an all-star a couple years ago, we all were wondering, is this a sign of what he could become long-term? And then he struggled tremendously at the start of the year. And then when Don Mattingly was fired, he kind of bounced back a little bit in May, but then fizzled into June and July. In the 16 games in the month of August, he has a .368 batting average. He has 10 RBI in the last 16 games. His slugging percentage is .509. So what just happened here? I just spent the last few minutes highlighting Schwarber, Harper, Arias, Bohm, and Stott. So you want to know why the Phillies are averaging just over 7 runs a game this month? As Jason Kelce would say, it's the whole team. And they deserve a ton of credit for finding a way to rebound on all of this. The White Horse RV text board is open at 609-403-0973. Also, we got messages coming in on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN. We'll get to your messages as well in just a bit. I'm not saying that I am buying full. I'm not pushing all my chips to the table with the Phillies. I'm not buying in totally on them. But I think the 6 of the last 8 games they've won, what this team has done during Bryce Harper's 21-game on-base streak, I think are good signs that if this team shows up when it comes to the postseason, it's going to be a fun Red October. I'm promising you that much. Luke in Atlantic City chimes in on Whitehorse RV text board at 69403-0973. Says that stir is floating around about the 1-run games because all I can think about is how many games we've lost 1-0 or we lost by 1 run in the bullpen in extra innings, says Luke in Atlantic City. Listen, I think that we all can look back on the two of the 3 losses in the Blue Jays series and have a lot of questions for this team. But again, if you take the larger sample size and say, hey, out of the 33 games, this is what the team has done. 2 out of 33, is that enough of a sample size for us to condemn this team? At least not for me. At least not for me. Shader and EHT chimes in the Whitehorse RV text board at 609-403-0973. Shaner says, I know y'all hate him, but my boy Bohm is going to meet or beat the back of a baseball card. It's happening right at the right time. Haters going to hate, but batting average isn't seen the last 2 weeks. So Shaner and EHT. Listen, the Bohm issue, and I can't speak for Mike Gill because he's not here, but me, Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill, who's worked with Mike Gill for 11 years here at 97.3 ESPN. I just want to reiterate, and we'll have Oscar Budejen and Frank Klose coming on later in the show to talk more about this as well. I don't think any of us hate Alec Bohm. I reserve my hate for like bad people, okay? As far as I know, Alec Bohm has never done anything nefarious or evil, okay? Is he a little immature at times? More often than I would like. Does he have a bad approach to the plate at times? More often than I like. Was he a guy who was drafted 3rd overall in the MLB draft and we all wanted him to be more than a slapstick hitter who could barely hit home runs? Absolutely. But I never hated Alec Bohm. I don't think Mike Gill does either. In fact, I think Mike Gill has probably rooted for Alec Bohm to be good more than I have. The problem with Alec Bohm, Shaner and EHT, is that he's very frustrating. His literal existence exasperates us because there are stretches like the last 16 games where he is absolutely on fire. And then there's other stretches of the games like most of July where he looks like he doesn't even belong in the big leagues. Those two extremes is where I need a middle ground here. I need him to meet the back of the baseball card because there's a happy medium between batting .368 in the month of August and barely being the Mendoza line in the month of July. Can we have a happy in between here? And it's not like Bohm is a guy going up there trying to hit home runs all the time. That's not his game. It's not his style. I know what Bohm is. I know what Bohm can be. And if Bohm can just be the Alec Bohm we know he's capable of being, I think a lot less hate is going to creep up on social media about him. But when he's not playing well, yeah, I don't want him in the lineup. Over on the YouTube stream at 973 ESPN, Nick chimes in, says, Josh, the Phillies win as a team, they lose as a team. Alec, Bryson, Aaron, Jesus have been stepping up as late. Don't let our boys get hot. Listen, I understand there might be a bit of love from Nick and Shane on EHT for Alec Boehm. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and get too high on Boehm. I'm happy he's doing what he's doing right now because I want to see the team win. The team is better when Alec Boehm is hitting. The Bryson Stott and the Aaron Nola thing is something I have brought up numerous times in recent weeks, Nick, here on 97.3 ESPN. But the problem with Aaron Nola is it's like 2018 all over again. He's pitching well. They get no run support. In fact, I think the stat was, I got to double check it, but the stat I saw on MLB Network was that the Field of Dream games is the first time that Aaron Nola has gotten that much run support in like 2 years for one of his starts. So, you can highlight individual players all you want, but the reality is that there is a domino effect when it comes to this team. Jeff in Ocean City chiming in on the YouTube stream as well. He has Faith spelled Phaith. Now, I don't know what it says about me, but that immediately made me think of the cover variant of the song Faith by Limp Bizkit. So I think that's the point where we probably should hit the break before my mind goes completely sideways here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We are streaming live on YouTube next at 973 ESPN. With the more your text coming up in just a bit on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973, as well as on the 973 ESPN stream. A lot of you guys are chiming in, so I'm going to try to get to more of your messages coming up throughout the show. Maybe we'll save the Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson comments for a little bit later because there's a ton of your messages I want to get to on the other side. We'll keep them coming in. 609-403-0973. That's the White Horse RV text board. Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash. Phillies have won 6 of their last 8. Are you buying back into the Phillies, or are you still being trepidatious as I am being? Let me know. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday here on the Sports Bash, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Sebastian Maniscalco, live.
Well, some people do Venmo. Maybe you went out to dinner before the show. Somebody paid, and then the rest of the group said, no, we'll Venmo you later. No, you pay me now. Right? You can leave here tonight and wrap yourself around a tree. Where does that leave me?
Live on stage at Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort for 8 shows in September 2026. Get tickets now at theoceanac.com.
Be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. That's ziprecruiter.com/radio. ziprecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter.
The times you spend with your friends and loved ones are the best and will become lifetime memories. Make sure you stay in the picture and stay away from fentanyl. Learn the dangers and risks of this frightening, deadly drug at stayinthepic.nj.gov. Visit stayinthepic.nj.gov for human services.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile.
.234 on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig calling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. A ton of you are chiming in on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973, as well as the YouTube stream and on X at 973 ESPN. You know what we're going to do? We're going to hold off on the Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson comments till the next hour. I want to ignore you guys. You guys are joining the conversation. Let's not keep having the conversation about those Philadelphia Phillies. Don't forget the Phillies mailbag. 973ESPN.com. Spraying Klose coming up at 3 p.m. Also, Phillies Fastball. Oscar Budejen coming up at 5 p.m. There's got plenty of Phillies talk beyond this hour as well. Maybe Nick Earnshaw has something to say about the Phillies. Or maybe not. We'll find out. 4:30. But right now, back to the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0973. John in Avalon chimes in and says, with the Phillies winning 6 of their last 8, it's great that they can keep up this pace. They'll definitely get the chance to make the playoffs Whether you win by 1 run or 6 runs, it doesn't matter. Just like in football, good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose, says John in Avalon. Yeah, it's kind of like the phrase that I use all the time that Mike Gill rolls his eyes at me about, Dominic Toretto. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. Mike Gill hates when I bring that up. But it's apropos. It's the idea that you're right, John in Avalon. It doesn't matter if you're winning 7-1 or 6-5. You just found a way to win. And sometimes we get so hung up on the style points that we forget that no one's going to remember. Like when the Philadelphia Eagles won their first Super Bowl for the 2017 season, but in February 2018, no one was going back and relitigating every game that season. We remember moments in the season, like Carson Wentz's deep shot, the Nelson Aguilar versus Washington, Carson Wentz blowing out his knee against the Rams, but they won anyway. Nick Foles struggling against the Raiders for Christmas and then being a huge part of the team's success in the postseason. We remember moments in the storylines of the season, but most people can't name for you every single score of that year. For the 2008 Phillies, you don't remember the score of 162 games, but you remember the moments throughout the season, like how they started out slowly, but then they kind of started circling around. They got hot for May onward, how the team had multiple moments where guys like Shane Victorino had clutch hits along with Jason Worth throughout the year, how the addition of Joe Blanton stabilized the rotation. So John Avalon's right. If the Phillies can keep doing what they're doing and they can make it into the playoffs and keep winning, no one's going to remember that they won 6-5 over the Marlins on August 17th. What you're going to remember is, hey, they got hot in the month of August, and it propelled them into September and October. So, John, you're 100% right. Sometimes we forget that the aesthetics of winning is less important than, as Al Davis said, just win, baby. More text coming in on the Whitehorse RV text board at 609-403-0973. Jay in Cape May Courthouse says, I'm not sold on the Phillies yet. This could just be another hot streak for this team. They need more consistency. It almost seems as if when they are called out, they step up. Most likely this team is what it is, an aging team that needs everyone to play at 100%. Like you said, it could be an exciting October, though, says Jay in Cape May Courthouse. And Jay, back to, I love what you point out, says they step up when they're called out. I mentioned the fact that Bryce Harper is on this 21 game on base streak. Well, what goes in conjunction with that 21 on base streak? 21 days ago, they lost 1-0 to the Marlins in Miami, and Bryce Harper was the one who got up in the locker room and said, we need help. Well, how did the team respond? Well, apparently Brandon Marsh spent the next 2 hours after the game in the batting cages. It was after that Bryson Stott just went absolutely in fuego. It was around that time that Alec Boehm started turning around as a hitter. It was about that time that Trey Turner suddenly started hitting home runs. And we were all wondering, should he be the team's cleanup hitter? So, J.K. Courthouse, maybe you're right. Maybe when Bryce Harper spoke up and said, we need help, the other guys in the locker room kind of looked in the mirror a little bit closer and said, one of the best players on this team is telling the rest of us that he can't do it alone. And on top of that, the addition of Luis Arias was also a signal to the team that, hey guys, we added a perennial all-star caliber player, a guy who's in position to win another batting title. The rest of us need to get our heads out of the sand and play with more consistency. The Jake Gibby Courthouse, I think it's a very interesting point you brought up there. Over on the YouTube stream, some comments coming in. I'll be upset if they don't re-sign Luis Arias. Listen, I can't worry about Luis Arias, whether he gets re-signed or not right now. That is the least of my concern. Now, the question is, who is his agent? That's going to tell you if he gets re-signed or not. He is represented by the MVP Sports Group. Now, I'm not familiar with them. Let me look at them up for a sec. Oh, no. I was going to say, if it was Scott Boras, I would be like, yeah, he ain't resigning. Okay, that's interesting. So the MVP Sports Group also represents Jimmy Rollins. That's a fascinating little nugget. They also have represented Fernando Tatis, Albert Pujols, Manny Machado. Now, that's an interesting history nugget. So Machado, remember, Machado said no to Philly and went to the Padres. Part of the reason why we got Bryce Harper was because we were courting Manny Machado, and he left. So that's interesting. But hey, maybe their ongoing relationship with Jimmy Rollins and Jimmy and the agent, and maybe he talks to Luis Arias. You know what? Maybe you get your wish. Maybe there is good news when it comes to signing Luis Arias. I would think if anyone is going to help this team maybe bring back a player, Jimmy's probably one of the biggest and best spokesmen and representatives for this team. Jackson chiming in on the YouTube stream says the Philly season depends on Mattingly more than ever. He needs to make better decisions. Surely other coaches can help. Well, what's weird about it is, Jackson, they brought in Mattingly because he was supposed to help Thompson. Remember? The whole point was you brought in Donnie Baseball because he was supposed to be another baseball man to help Rob Thompson. So the irony here is that you brought in Mattingly to help be another baseball voice, and then you got rid of Thompson, and you made Mattingly the manager, and now I don't even know who the person is who's going to press back on Mattingly. I feel like the only guy who can really do it is either Kevin Long or Caleb Cotham, because Kevin Long's resume is one that a lot of players respect and admire because of his history with the Nationals and the Yankees and, the Yankee connection between Mattingly and Kevin Long. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. Mattingly has been very vocal about how he leans on Caleb Cotham for a lot of decisions. So maybe there is something to the idea of maybe Mattingly should be maybe more tuned in to what the pitching coach says and be a little bit less the guessing game, shall I call it, when it comes to when he does or doesn't take Nola, Sanchez, Wheeler, Luzardo out of games. Although I will say the last few games, he has been better about when he takes starting pitcher out than he was the previous few weeks. So maybe he is learning. I feel like there's not really a person on this coaching staff who's going to be like the overt, like Joe Torre had Don Zimmer, right? Terry Francona, he had, oh my goodness, who was the guy he had in Boston? I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he had that guy in Boston with him who was a great voice in his ear. The best teams have a bench coach who can kind of be like the voice of reason in the manager's ear. And I do wonder, does Mattingly have that guy? On the Whitehorse RV text board at 609-403-0973, David EHT says the Nola games worry me against the good pitchers for Miami. Yeah, I'm not fully sure what what Nola game you're referring to. And Miami only has 2 good pitchers. Okay. It's basically, at this point, it's basically Alcantara and I guess the other Miami good pitcher. I think you were kind of overrating them what the Marlins have to offer pitching wise. I'll just put it that way. Unless it's Perez or Alcantara, it's really not great pitching for the Marlins. The Marlins pitching has been very streaky this year. They have been very inconsistent. Yeah, Nola versus Alcantara is a little worrisome, but I'm not exactly going to sit here and act like that is like the end all be all when it comes to that game. You know, the Phillies do have a strong history against Sandy. Sandy has not always been like this consistently lights out guy against the Phillies. In fact, if you look at the Phillies hitters against Sandy Alcantara, one of the Phillies' best hitters against Sandy is actually Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm, he has like a 378 batting average in his career against Sandy Alcantara. I know JT Realmuto has a 308 batting average in his career. Edmundo Sosa has a 417 batting average. Trey Turner, 362 batting average. So I can't say I'm not worried about Nola versus Sandy Alcantara as long as the Phillies do their job against Sandy. All right, we got more Phillies to get to coming up with Frank Klose for the Phillies Mailbag, our weekly Phillies Mailbag here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to more of your messages on YouTube and X throughout the show. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash. On the other side, it is our Golic Minute of the day. What did Roger Goodell say that got Golic Sr. and Golic Jr.'s attention? Well, we'll get to that coming up on the other side for the Golic Minute. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN.
LeBron James plays here.
Here's James for 3. Got it. LeBron James knocks it down.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Ventnor Social is Down Beach's go-to place for game days. No shower happy hours, beach nights, live music, great food, cold drinks, and being social. From cheering on Phillies baseball team and other sports action on their 20 big screen TVs, to enjoying a cold beverage on the roof deck, to playing an arcade game, plus game day food and wing specials, along with other delicious cuisine. Get social at Ventnor Social, Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Check out their Facebook page for the latest specials and events.
Football is back, and no matter where game day takes you, Caesars Sportsbook keeps you in the action. Bet from the tailgate. Bet from your couch. Bet from the stadium. Bet from wherever. Caesars is your anytime, anywhere sportsbook. From pregame to primetime, live bets to parlays. We've got you covered, and this season, you can even flex your parlays so your bets can stay alive even if a leg misses. Plus, you'll rack up Caesars Rewards credits with every wager that you can spend on sweet deals. New to Caesars Sportsbook? Download the app today and bet just $1 to double your winnings on your next 10 wagers, up to $25 max bet per boost. Use code RADIO DYW to start betting. Open to new users in New Jersey are 21 or older. Minimum odds minus 500. Max bet of $25 for boosted winnings. Max additional winnings $2,500 per bet. Profit boost tokens expire 14 days after receipt. Bonus bet amount not returned for winning bets. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
You look at a flight from New York to London, it's a little 7 hours, so add that to the West Coast, another 3.5, 4 hours to it. Players living abroad, tax situation. Mike, I just don't see it.
How do you not see it? The commissioner of the NFL just told you it was going to happen.
Well, he said he's likely it's going to happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It could happen 30 years from now where I won't care about it because I'll be long gone.
When rich people tell you what they want and what they're going to do out loud, that means they've been talking about it for a while, and there's usually no stopping that train. And in sports, that goes doubly so.
That was this morning on the Golic. Heard every day. 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. I think it's a very fascinating conversation because, the NFL has been trying to get a team overseas for a very long time. And I just wonder, like Gold Senior said, is it really going to happen in our lifetime? It's not like travel technology has advanced that much in the last 25 years. So it's not like we are getting across the ocean or we're getting to and from New York to LA any faster. So I don't foresee how this is going to work travel-wise. But Gojo is also right. If the NFL says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how they make the logistics work. And I think that's where the league is probably going to go to the players at some point and say, we want an 18-game schedule. We'll give you 2 5 weeks to compensate for the extra travel. Phillies Mailbag coming up next. Frank Klose on 97.3.
The Birds are back. Catch Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season. Heading to Foxborough to face the AFC champion Patriots. Saturday night game coverage starts at 6 with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7.
He takes his drop. He's looking. He's grabbed. They're going to sack him and throw him down at the 23-yard line. Jalen Carter.
This is South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN.
Football is back, and no matter where game day takes you,
Get your game on at the Fanatic Sportsbook in the gallery at Ocean Casino Resort. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Mike Gill.
3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill. This hour is being brought to you by Broadleys Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. Broadleys is your trusted source for heating and plumbing service, along with air conditioning installation for generations. Call them at 609-3907 or visit them online at broadleys.net. This time each week, we get to the Phillies mailbag with our own Frank Klose from 973 ESPN.com. The Phillies have won 6 of their last 8 games. And as some of the questions in the mailbag are lining up with some of the questions everyone has been asking throughout the day, whether it's on the text board at 609-403-0973 or for all of you watching on YouTube and X. And Frank Klose joins us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Frank, welcome in. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing good. So, but before we get to the questions specifically in the mailbag, I kind of want to get, because Frank, you weren't on with us last week, so I want to get your perspective. You know, the Phillies have now won 6 of their last 8 games. You know, Bryce Harper, he's on this 21-game on base streak. How much of what we have seen from the Phillies, Frank, do you think is who they really are versus just them being on a hot streak?
Well, I think this is who they are in the sense of they're inconsistent. They have these streaks where they're playing very, very well. But I think case in point, right now, Phillies winning 4 in a row. Before they won these 4 in a row, you weren't feeling that good about the Phillies in a lot of ways. And then they turn it on, and then they play very, very well. So I think kind of what they are is a streaky team. Now, Luis Ariz, he was brought in to try to stabilize some of that streakiness and be a consistent bat. And, we'll kind of see how that is in the long run. I know he went for a few games without a hit, and everybody was panicking. I don't think that was necessary. I don't think you need to panic if Luis Ariz has a few days that are a little cold. But for the most part, he's going to hopefully stabilize that lineup so you feel like there's a sense of consistency. But I think the reality of this Phillies team, and we even seen it in previous years, they can be really hot and they can get cold very quickly. I mean, even thinking back to the 2023 playoffs, they were super hot and then went super cold, and then next thing you know, they're eliminated when everybody was ready to write the ticket to the World Series. So I think a lot of what you're seeing is a very streaky Phillies team, and that's what they're going to be.
Well, speaking of being a streaky team, Frank, let's get to the mailbag. I'll start with Ed. He asks, might the Phillies be looking over their shoulders at the team slowly creeping up? What's interesting is that this week they do have one of those teams, the Marlins, and then next the Cardinals. So, in some ways, maybe the partial answer to Ed's question, Frank, is they are, because they're facing them right now, right?
Yeah, I think it's overall important not to think of things that way. Now, I will say the Marlins and the Cardinals, I think both of those teams have enough holes that they really aren't a threat to catching up to the Phillies. I tend to think the Phillies are better than both of those teams, and long term, as you play it out, I think they'll be ahead of those teams. But I really think the two that kind of are the ones creeping up are the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, they're a talented team. They've had some injuries. I mean, they signed Zach Gallen and never really got to use him because of his injury, and so that's kind of hard to come back from when you're paying a lot of money for a starting pitcher and leaves a hole like he did. But they're deep enough that they cut Paul Sewald, who was a really nice pitcher. I know Mike had written up about that last week, claimed by the Blue Jays, by the way, before the Phillies had a chance to even get in on him. But I think they're a team that could be someone who can get them. They did. They got themselves back into the wild card picture, and they could be someone who could compete for it. And then the Padres, they were a team that maybe some people thought would make some trades, maybe trade Mason Miller, but instead they added at the trade deadline, and I think they're probably the bigger contender for the Phillies for a wild card spot at this point. So I think those are the teams to keep an eye on, but I hate to think of the idea that a team like the Phillies would be looking behind them, because I think they need to look in front of them. I think they need to look at the team that they're playing at any given time, focus on that team, beat that team, and that's how you get to the playoffs. You can't get into the playoffs worrying about somebody else. You got to take care of business yourself and let the things fall as they should. And if you are a team that's worthy of the playoffs, you should take care of that on your own just fine.
Phillies mailbag with Frank Klose. Of course, people can chime in on the text board as well at 609-403-0973. Let's finish up with a couple of questions that came in that we already have loaded up, because we've got to go big picture. Then we'll go small picture here when it comes to the Phillies. Carmi, I think that's how you say the name, it chimes in, says the Phillies standing at 6-7-58. How many wins do they need to get to the postseason? Now, Frank, this is an interesting question, because I think this kind of lines up with, hey, the Phillies are doing well this month, but they got to finish out this month, and they still got all of September to get through before we even get to a potential Red October. So, I think kind of the way I would repurpose this question, at least for me, Frank, is what do the Phillies have to do beyond the Marlins series in order wins-wise to get into the postseason?
Yeah, so since that question came in, they won last night, so they're off to a good start. That was win number 68. And so, when you think about it, usually to be a wild card, I think given the teams that are around this year, 90 games, you maybe feel a little safe. And to get to 90, you need to win 22 more if you're the Phillies to get to that 90 number. So I think that going 22-14 would maybe be how you would feel safe. So now that's easier said than done. That's 8 games over 500 the rest of the way. And Phillies have kind of been teetering about 500-ish for a while now, right? Because they had hit the 10 games over 500 mark a while ago. Finally got back up to that. So I think to feel safe, you want to be like 22-14. If you go 20-16, you might have a shot. I mean, that puts you at like 88 wins. But we've seen teams make it with less than that in the past. But I think they just really need to kick it into high gear. Hopefully, or at least what usually happens is you make your July deadline acquisitions, and then you play a little bit at a higher level than you did before. So, I'd like to see the Phillies do a little bit better than that. But then, the Phillies do have a pretty tough stretch ahead. I mean, they are going to get some action against some of these contending teams. And, I think the story of the Phillies so far is they've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat, but then they've struggled when they struggled against some of the better teams. So, I want to see the Phillies take some games against the Braves in September, right? They've been saved for the end. And as other teams maybe roll through, like the Diamondbacks, you got to take some of those games in that head-to-head action. So I'm thinking they need to play about 8 games over the 500 mark the rest of the way, and that's kind of hard to do. When you consider that you only have under 40 games left, right? This is it's going to end quickly, it seems. I mean, the playoffs this year actually start the last week of September, so this is going to come a lot quicker than you think, right? So we're talking about Phillies have about 5 weeks to really make their mark and claim a playoff spot.
Yeah, and Frank, to your point, so I pull up on the screen for those watching on YouTube and X, 10-game stretch from August 31st through September 13th. They got 10 games against the Diamondbacks and the Braves combined. And then sandwiched in between is this American League team that always seems to be a thorn in the Phillies' side. You might have heard of them, called the Astros. So, and that's just a part of the September schedule. Let's not forget that the end of the month, they still got the Brewers in Tampa Bay. So they got a stretch of games where it ain't going to be easy. And you could argue, Frank, that they have to win the games this weekend to this weekend to make sure that that September schedule doesn't doom them.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I think they're a better team than the Marlins. They got to beat the Marlins. Not just win 2 out of 3. I think they need to start doing some sweeps. It was good that they swept the Twins. Twins, another team that was a good team this year so far. They actually added at the deadline, so a sweep against them is not inconsequential. But you really need to, like I said, if you want to be 8 games over the 500 mark, that means you need to play some ball. You need to take advantage of the ones you're supposed to win. But they're going to have to beat the good teams. I mean, and quite honestly, Josh, if they don't beat the good teams, then they really don't deserve the playoff spot. So it's time to start beating some of these good teams.
Frank Klose joining us for the Phillies Mailbag. Of course, you catch it each week over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Frank joining us for another Phillies Mailbag this week. Another question coming in on the Mailbag, Frank. So we kind of went from big picture. Now we're getting more specific here. Kelly asks, are we seeing the real Alec Bohm right now? We talked about this earlier, Frank. He's hitting .368 in the month of August after having probably what most would consider a horrible April, a horrible July, and a solid May and June. So is what we're seeing now, is this the repurposing, has the real Alec Bohm shown up here?
I think it's the real Alec Bohm. Kind of like what I was just saying a while ago. The real Alec Bohm, I think, is inconsistency. We're seeing the best of him. I think when I think of Alec Bohm, I think of a really good contact bat. And there are days like the other day, he could get 5 hits. But there are other days where it feels like he's grounding into one double play after the other. I like his contact bat. He's always got the potential to give you a string of hits all in a row. But he is inconsistent, and I think that's an issue. And I think just before this recent stretch, it was a really fair question to ask: is Bryce Harper moving to the outfield really necessary for Alec Bohm? At the beginning of August, I might have said, no, not really. I mean, they're getting a lot of good play out of Derek Hill and out of De La Cruz. So when you have Brian De La Cruz hitting the way he's hitting, again, big hit on Sunday, right? You really have, I think Alec Bohm really has to show that he has the bat to play at first base and to cause Bryce Harper to have to exit games early because you're worried about him being on those legs in the outfield. So far this month, he's shown that yes, it was worth it. And hopefully he has that little impetus to keep doing so because, you saw on Sunday too, they put everybody back at their original positions when they took Luis Ariz out for a pinch runner. So kind of tells me that Don Mattingly won't hesitate to put Bryce Harper back at first base if necessary. So I think he's stepping up at the right time. I hope we see that consistency the rest of the way because that means a successful Phillies team. But even in this hot stretch, I still see people ask questions. Oh, why is he batting 5th? He has the right-handed bat in this lineup. I mean, JT Realmuto, for as great as he is behind the plate and as great as his bat was, I think JT Realmuto's bat is the bat of a 35-year-old who's got a lot of miles on him. So he can't be your number 5 hitter. So I think that becomes Alec Bohm's responsibility with this lineup. So I think that, yes, he's got the ability to put together a big string of hits. I love the contact he makes. Let's hope he's feeling. And the other thing too is we've seen him, for lack of a better phrase, throw temper tantrums when he's struggling, which makes me think it gets into his head sometimes. So hey, if he's getting hits, I think he's in a good headspace. So I'd like to see a lot more of that from him down the stretch. Really, the Phillies are so much better when Alec Bohm is getting hits. So yes, he's inconsistent. I know Kelly, who asked the question, is a really big fan of Alec Bohm. So hopefully she sees some success from him over the next 6 weeks and beyond.
I do find the Alec Bohm fans out there fascinating, Frank, because it's like, I had Shaner and EHC texting earlier about, how people hate on Bohm. And I was saying, look, I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like most of us here on 97.3 ESPN, we don't hate Alec Bohm. Like, we don't like when he goes back, we're like, oh, here's Alec Bohm again. It's just, we know who he is, right, Frank? He's never going to live up to being the 3rd overall pick in the MLB draft. He's never going to be that guy. Is he a guy who can get you 95 RBI a year? Sure. But I also know, Frank, that he's not a home run hitter. So I don't expect him to go out there and hit a bunch of home runs. Mm-hmm. And I find that, his approach at the plate at times is what bothers me, because for a guy who's does his best work as a contact hitter, he seems to approach the plate forgetting that that's who he is. So I don't hate Alec Bohm. I don't think you hate Alec Bohm either, Frank. It's just we know who he is, and we never expect him to be more than that.
Yeah, I think the word approach is a really important thing to think about with him, because I've seen him come up in big at bats. I can't remember now; they're all running together in my head, but it was in the last 10 days. Steps up to the plate, 2 walks in a row. Phillies threatening, have a shot of coming back. Maybe it was last Sunday, and he comes hacking at the first pitch. And I forget who I was with watching that game, and I just said, "Oh, geez, I think he's going to be swinging away here." And he was. And instead of waiting for the right pitch, sometimes he's just swinging. And so yeah, I mean, he's been a Philly a long time. I think that they should know how they can manage him by now. If it was me, I would have, if I were Paco Figueroa over at third base, or I would be putting a hold sign on, right? So, or excuse me, I guess it's Contreras at third base. I would be putting a hold sign up for him. So, or take sign. But he is who he is. I think that after this year, he probably moves on from the Phillies as they look to get a more consistent type bat in its place. I mean, and by the way, Bryson Stott has done an incredible job at third base, considering he was just thrown there. I think that gives the Phillies a lot of options going into next year. I think Bryce will be right back at first base. But if you're comfortable with Stott at third, then maybe you can play around where you add that bat to replace Bohm's bat. But but that said, I think if he leaves as a free agent, there are going to be teams who sign him. I think there's a lot of value there for the right team that has the ability to either be patient with him. But I think for a contending team like the Phillies, long term, they want some more consistency, and he has not been the one to give them that consistency. But yeah, very nice bat on him. I really like his contact. Don't hate him. I'm just trying to think of where he fits in best with this particular club.
And I think what's interesting is the contrast, Frank, which is the guy that people I think should be putting more love to, and is the guy that has been way more consistent, especially the last couple of months than Bohm has been. Bryson Stott, since the All-Star game, has been on fire. And I remember we had the conversation you and I did a couple of years ago, and we kind of joked about how, a couple of years ago, Bryson Stott had one of the highest selling jerseys of any Phillies player. He was a top 10 jersey seller a couple of years ago. He is now fallen out of the top 25. But yet we see a world where people are like loving on Alec Bohm. And I feel like, no, we got to put some of that love to Bryson Stott too, because he is having a phenomenal second half of the year in the midst of a position change where he is playing, I think, way better than people expected him to at third base.
Yeah, he's been incredibly impressive at third base. He kind of came up as a shortstop. I always thought he'd be best at second base, but I actually feel really confident that he is going to give the Phillies a lot of options. I would have no qualms if he sort of became the third baseman next year as they sort of reimagine their roster, and that's a really nice thing to have if you're the Phillies, because essentially, and I'll admit this, Josh, I was worried about 3 players changing positions to accommodate Luis Arraez. Well, in the end, I think the Phillies got better defensively at third base. I think they got better defensively at first base. And so I don't think Arraez is going to be as good as Stott at second, but I think he's done a very good job. So I think all in all, Bryson Stott made that a possibility. And his talent level made that a possibility. And so, but yeah, I think he's not in the top in jersey sales because a lot of Phillies fans already have one. But and by the way, he sold Ty Verdes a lot of records, I'm sure, with that A-OK song. So
that's true. That's true. He deserves a commission for that.
Yes.
Frank, I do have one message I wanted to get to on the text board at 609-403-0973. Person didn't leave their name, but they're asking, do we have any concerns about Sanchez's velocity being down or the fact that he's been giving up a lot of hits in recent starts?
We're in the dog days of summer. The highest heat, highest humidity, kind of when a lot of pitchers have sort of what they call dead arm periods. And, not that they're hurt, but, when you're pitching this deep in the season, it just kind of catches up to you a little bit. So I think that because he's so skilled, he's the type that can give you 6 innings and not kill you and get past it and then round back into form later. So there's nothing that's given me enough concern where I'm worried about Christopher Sanchez. I think that perhaps the playoff-like atmosphere that's going to develop in September, I think that'll help get his adrenaline back up. But I'm not really worried. I think he especially because he has become a real pitcher. When he came into the major leagues, he was a thrower. Kudos to the Phillies to make him learn how to pitch, and I think that skill is going to really, really help him through any dead arm phase that he has. So I think it's good that he's able to get through 6 innings just fine. The Phillies will win a lot of games when that happens, and I can see him kick it up a notch as you sort of get into that playoff atmosphere.
One more for Frank from the text board. The White Horse RV text board is 609-403-0973. Fegan Mays Landing says, I'm really encouraged by how the Phillies are playing, but my only apprehension is when Kerkering and Alvarado get put into the game. What is the state of the Phillies bullpen, Frank?
Well, I think you saw a real vote of confidence the other day in Jonathan Boland, who came in and got his first save. Yesterday, he got hit around a little bit. That's okay. Raley's pretty good, although he seems to give up these 2 home runs he gave up seem to be at inopportune times. But, I think that Raley and Boland have kind of jumped ahead of those two in the Phillies bullpen. I really don't trust Jose Alvarado in the late innings anymore. I hate to say it. If I'm the Phillies, I would be keeping an eye on the waiver wire to see who can potentially come in and replace him. I did tweet. I don't know how he can remain on the roster because all he's doing is coming in and walking a bunch of players, and his ERA would be higher if some of the other relievers didn't get him out of some of those innings. So I am concerned the most about Alvarado. Kerkering, he's really having a rough stretch right now. Did come in and get that out yesterday, but it's a little concerning. But I think Boland is stepping up, and Raley is a veteran that. Yeah, you see it with Raley. At least he goes after the hitters. Like if someone pops a home run once in a while, I'm less worried about it. But I'm more worried about someone coming in and walking a bunch of batters because those walks always end up badly. So I am concerned about those two. I would try to use them in the 5th and 6th, or maybe avoid them altogether when possible, and really use Raley and then Boland as your bridge to get to Duran when possible.
He's Frank Klose, the Phillies mailbag each week here on the Sports Bash at Frank Klose with a K on the X platform. And of course, every mailbag will be up at 973ESPN.com each week. Frank will be back next week when Mike Gill returns with his baseball team from Jamestown is where they are at. Frank, great stuff today. Appreciate you jumping on.
Always enjoy talking to you, Josh.
Josh Hennig hanging with you here, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, we also have the Phillies lineup for today. It's being brought to you by Chachi's 13th Floor Rafichis. It is now open. Fantasy football season is here, so book your fantasy football draft at Chachi's 13th Floor above Villa Rafichi in Absecon for just $20 per person. Your draft package includes great food and cold beer. Chachi's 13th Floor, proud partner of 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, with the Phillies lineup each day, it is your chance to win a $100 gift card, the Chachi's 13th Floor at Villa Rafichi. If the Phillies score 13 runs tonight, you will win with Chachi's 13th Floor. Of course, if there is no game this week when the Phillies score 13 runs, you are automatically put into the drawing for a $25 gift card to Villa Rafichi. Just text your name and where you're from to 609-403-0973 for your chance if they score 13 runs tonight, or if they don't score 13 runs tonight, you could still win on Friday's edition of the Sports Bash. Tonight's Phillies lineup is, well, predictable. It's Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Arias, Bohm, Stott, Marsh, Riddle, Muto, Crawford, with Zach Wheeler on the mound. Everyone at their ascribed position. So no craziness for the Phillies lineup tonight as they take on the Marlins. All right, keep your text coming in on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. We'll also be getting messages throughout the show on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, what did Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson say about the Eagles offense? We will play that audio for you coming up next. Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill, here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
We have the Phillies covered.
Swing and a drive, right field, way back, forget it, out of here. Kyle Schwarber hammers one over the right field wall.
Get the best Phillies baseball coverage on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Town Square Media has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible offers from some fantastic local businesses. Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. Get one $50 gift card for just $25 to the Island Grill in Ocean City. It's the area's go-to restaurant for fresh catch local seafood with a laid-back beach vibe. That's a $50 gift card for just $25. Get this great deal starting this Friday at seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John's day is off to a slow start. So he heads to AutoZone, where he can get a battery for under $100. Lonnie, a local AutoZoner, tests his battery for free. Looks like he just needs a charge, and Lonnie does that for free too. In no time at all, John is back on the road, ready to finish the day strong. Free battery testing and charging at every store. No hassles, just help.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
With GMF financing, the qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
Bennett Chevy's end of summer clear the lot sale is going on now. Selling new Chevys at the lowest prices you'll find anywhere. GM supplier employee prices. Plus, you keep all the rebates, saving you as much as 20%. Save even more with available 0% financing. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? Get a minimum $10,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's a minimum $10,000. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So you're never hassled or haggled, and you'll never feel any sales pressure. What other dealer makes you offers this good? New vehicles selling at the true GM supplier employee price, and you keep all the rebates, saving you up to 20%. Pre-owned buyers get a minimum $10,000 for your trade. Even if it doesn't run, you still get a minimum 10 grand for total junk. Together, let's drive. During Bennett Chevrolet's end of summer Clear the Lot sale. Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com.
Three thirty-two on the Sports Pass. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. We got football and four with Adam Caplan still to come here on 97.3 ESPN. Adam on his way to Foxborough for the joint practices between the Eagles and the Patriots. There's a lot of conversation about what is the Eagles' new offense. And I was listening to the Green Light podcast yesterday, and Bo Allen had a one-on-one sit-down with Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson. He asked them about the Eagles' offense. And I wanted to bring it to you guys out there listening on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. You see how we are streaming live on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN because, there's been a lot of conjecture and a lot of presumptions about the Eagles offense. And, I've tried to have this conversation with everybody and not everyone wants to hear it. And that's fine. Some of you out there, you're just a bunch of very angry, stubborn people, but the rest of you are good, realistic, go Birds fans. So I wanted to bring you guys, last week we talked with former NFL safety Nick Ferguson about Jalen Hurts. And this week, when I heard this audio from Lane and Landon, I was really kind of taken aback because, for two guys who are actively on the team to make the comments they made about the offense. It's one thing for former players like a Nick Ferguson or a Dan Orlovsky or a Nick Foles or a Kurt Warner. It's one thing for those guys to say something. It's another thing for guys who are in the locker room to speak up about the offense, about the offensive line. And I wanted to start specifically with the offensive line because there has been a very strange narrative put out there that Lane Johnson was considering retiring because Jeff Stoutland was gone. And even though there was never any evidence to feed into that narrative was put out there. And so Lane Johnson was asked directly by Bo Allen, about, hey, you got a new O-line coach. What has that whole situation been like for you? And Lane, the brutally honest guy he is, gave you a Lane Johnson type answer.
Just being a former player, he knows kind of how the line of scrimmage operates. And so from a communication aspect, I think it's just been very, very easy. Obviously a different scheme, but a lot of the same stuff we've done, just different words, but really just under center more, play action. And yeah, it's been fun. We got some characters, and so he's getting introduced to all the characters in the room too.
I love that answer from Lane because he highlights the reason why Chris Cooper is here. Chris Cooper is here because he's a former player. There was no way that they were going to replace Jeff Stoutland with some random guy. Just some whatever dude. They had to replace him with somebody who was going to be a legitimate high-level coach. Chris Cooper is a guy who played in the league for a decade. He's also now coached in the league for several years. He's a guy who coached on Vic Fangio's staff in Denver. He's a guy who coached with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. That's part of the reason why Cooper and Sean Mannion know each other. So the whole narrative about how, they're not going to like this new guy, Lane Johnson, at least for me, put that to bed. But he did go on to say and admit what we all kind of have always thought, that the Jeff Stoutland departure was a little weird.
Yeah, it was an interesting transition. Somebody, just the mentor to me that put his reputation on the line, drafted me, when they did. So a lot of pressure was put on him, man, and just kind of our evolution through the years and what we all achieved together. And I feel like we both just kind of fed into each other personality-wise.
Listen, Lane Johnson kind of confirmed what we all have felt. And, you saw a little bit of it play out during Super Bowl Radio Row this year when Mike Gill from the Sports Bash, him, Scott Grayson, Nick Earnshaw, all the guys were down there at Radio Row when the players didn't really seem to want to talk about it. They were still in shock about the team moving on from Stoutland. And then Stoutland went on Jason Kelsey's podcast and kind of the New Heights pod talked about how, last year, for lack of a better term, you kind of saw the beginning of the end coming. And listen, the Eagles desperately needed something new offensively. And listen, Stoutland had been here for 13 years. It's not like he had been here for a couple of years. And I don't think I wasn't sure Stoutland wanted to do what he was doing anymore, but the way the whole situation played out was weird because the reporting was that the Eagles tried to keep Stoutland, but he wasn't interested in being here with some of the reports out there in terms of the role that he was being asked to play, which was, for lack of a better term, no longer being in charge of, being the run game coordinator. He would just be the O-line coach. And so I think Lane kind of said what we all thought, which was the whole situation was strange. It was odd. It was weird, whatever you want to call it. But Lane does say that, yes, there is an adjustment when it comes to a new O-line coach, but he thinks Chris Cooper and this new offense is going to be good for the offensive line.
With Chris, I think it was really cool just how everything was handled. Came in and just you realized the guys that he played with, not much older than us, So, yeah, but I talked to O'Neal in Minnesota. Yep. They all loved him. He said that's one of their favorite coaches he's ever had. Yep. But, yeah, it is different. It's sideline to sideline, and for us, some more three-point stance at tackle. And so, but for us, I feel like it allows the defender to it delays the run pass, knowing what it is a little bit longer when you're under center versus being in gun. And so for us, it kind of helps. But it is an adjustment, just, different landmarks and stuff. But it's all fun.
And I think that is really what it's about. It's not that going from Stoutland to Cooper was going to create a dynamic where guys are like, I can't do this offense. This is ridiculous. That was never the issue at all. The issue was who you replaced Stoutland with, much more so than replacing Stoutland. And yet you see that playing out in this conversation. And listen, you heard Brian Baldinger bring it up at NFL Network last week. Played that audio here on 97.3 ESPN. Saquon brought it up in his conversation with Kay Adams on the Up and Adams show. There's a ton of positives when it comes to this whole decision. There's a ton of positives with this. And I don't think that it's as negative as people have tried to paint it out to be. Now, Landon Dickerson followed it up by saying there is a unforeseen positive for the offensive line with this new offense.
The three-point stance thing is an adjustment, but again, it's just I think the focus is a lot more on getting to the ball and playing fast versus, the past system was a lot of problem solving at the line of scrimmage, and this is more just kind of let's get up there and just, run our plays. And, if the defense can't get set or stem the front, Vic loves to do all that sort of stuff. So, big thing is just if we can get up there and catch them before they can get adjusted, that's kind of a big philosophy of this offense. Yeah.
Play fast, less thinking before the snap, putting the team in a position to not let defenses get settled in, get themselves set up. I've always wondered why we don't talk about that enough. Why don't we, as Eagles fans, football fans, ask the question? And maybe people have asked the question, I don't remember. But I've always wondered, there were so many plays for the Eagles that were so long developing. At times, they would take so long to snap the ball that you were kind of always thinking, why don't you just snap and go? What are you deciding? What do you figure out? Why are you not catching the defense and keeping the defense on their heels? Like, the whole point of running no huddle is to not let the defense get settled in and acclimate. And there were times they would run no huddle, and then they would still take 15, 20 seconds off the clock. And Landon is saying, look, the stance is an adjustment, but now we're doing less thinking at the line and we're doing more playing. And that's where Lane followed up and said, listen, this offense is very different than the past offense that we ran for this reason.
Before that, we just basically tried to never let the quarterback throw high. We tried to pick up all the protections, and Kelson can't. You got to be a wizard in the middle. It's an orchestra.
Especially some of these exotic blitzes you get from D coordinators like Flores or Vic. You guys see that
Todd
shit.
Bowles.
Todd Bowles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How many times have we asked over the years, is Jalen Hurts throwing to the hot route? And now we find out Lane Johnson is saying, well, we kind of eliminated the hot route because we were trying so hard to compensate for the blitz coming at us. Well, that explains a lot. That explains why Jalen Hurts wasn't doing checkdowns to the running backs and tight ends often enough. Because the offense was built for him not to do that. So now this confirms what I have been asking for 3 years here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday. I've been asking the question, how many of the issues with Jalen Hurts in this offense was because of what he was doing versus what he was being told to do? And now we're finding out that all the times we wondered, why is Jalen chucking down the ball down? Why is he pushing the ball down the field? Why is he not going to a hot route? Is because Lane is saying, yeah, well, in the past, we actually didn't want the quarterback to use the hot route. We were trying to compensate for the blitz coming at us. And now it sounds like the whole offense is built on not letting the defense get settled and blitz the quarterback, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands a little quicker. But wait a minute. Isn't that what Sean Mannion has already said? Isn't what Jalen Hurts already said? Final part of Lane Johnson talking about the new offense.
It makes the defense cover the whole field, and if they over pursue and kind of how the run game is, if you circle the wagon, if not, ride that wave backside. So people had to be gap sound. I think a lot of the motions and shifts merit up. So, like I said, it takes these guys on defense a little. It puts them in a bind longer to make their decisions.
Cover the whole field. Puts the defense in a bind. Puts the pressure back on the defense. How many times did we ask the question in past years? Why is Jalen not scanning the whole field? Is it maybe because he was told not to? You heard Lane just say, now we're making defenses cover the whole field. We played the audio from Brian Baldinger last week. He said that when you line up under center, when you run this kind of offense, the defense is not in as easy of a position for them to figure out what you're doing. I don't know about you guys, but it sounds like this defense is going to be a massive improvement over last year's fiasco. Great stuff there from Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson being chatting with Bo Allen on the Green Light podcast. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, our unsportsmanlike moment of the day brings us back to the NBA. What were the folks saying this morning on Unsportsmanlike? Well, we'll play it for you next here on 97.3 ESPN.
Is Jeannie Buss, as the face of the Lakers, worth Is Jeannie Buss, as the face of worth having still if you're Iger and Kushner, or because of the fact that you're spending the $12.5 billion in terms of the valuation, not the money, but the valuation, you need a clean slate here?
Well, I don't know that you need a clean slate, but I also don't think that you need the redundancy in terms of somebody that's forward facing, representing your franchise in the business community. You have Bob Iger. He's one of the most respected executives, not just in sports, but in the Fortune 100. So I don't know that you need Jeannie Buss being able to, conduct the business and the day-to-day operations of the franchise. If you need another face, you got Magic Johnson that's still there.
Unfortunately, like this morning, heard 6 a.m. at 10 a.m. Eastern. That was Chris Danny, Evan Cohen, and Kimberly A. Martin filling in for Michelle Coleman. This is a fascinating question. This was kind of a part of the whole Lakers sale, family drama. I didn't really factor in. I'm glad they asked this morning because I've done a lot of reading over the years about, the behind the scenes of these companies' operations, for the NBA, but also Disney. Bob Iger, those who don't know, he was the longtime CEO. Then he retired. The guy who replaced him almost drove Disney into complete oblivion. He had to come back, save the company, clear out a lot of the individuals who were, for lack of a better term, using their platforms with content creating to push agendas. Those out there who understand know what I'm talking about. He cleaned a lot of that up, and he has been credited with basically being directly responsible for the revival of ESPN, Disney Plus, and now he's leaving Disney again. And maybe in today's modern age, for a franchise like the Lakers to move into the next era of business, maybe they do need a Bob Iger who's going to bring different ideas, who's going to be a little less gregarious. Not that Jeannie busted a bad job. She did an amazing job for decades, but maybe it is time for a change. Maybe that is what is important for the NBA and the Lakers moving into the next new world of business. Football at 4 coming up next.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. And as always, is being brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort. The best place for game days is the Fanatic Sportsbook and Ocean Casino Resort's gallery bar booking games. With huge screens, great drinks, and all the sportsbook action you want, it's the perfect place to catch every play and celebrate every win, like with the Eagles. Their next preseason game is this Saturday with Mel Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. But before we get there, we got inner squad practices, and that's where Adam Caplan, on his way joining us to Foxborough, Massachusetts, as the Eagles and Patriots square off. Adam, how you doing today?
Josh, yeah, I'm well. I hope you're doing well. So I am driving to Foxborough, Massachusetts. I'm halfway there for the Eagles joint practices. We're really going to get a better idea of where the Eagles are at because they've got this brand new offensive scheme, and we're going to see the ones versus the ones. We'll get into that, what that looks like, but we're looking forward to it. For 2 days of practice, I've done it when there've been one, I've done it when there've been two, and it's always good to get 2 days in.
So explain to the audience who, may not be as familiar with how this actually works. Because I think understanding why teams do this and the value that comes from this for why the Eagles and Patriots are getting together this week.
Yeah, so a couple of things here. Nick Sirianni, the Eagles head coach, and Mike Vrabel, the Patriots head coach, they love having these joint practices with their opponents in a particular week, whether they're the road team or the home team, because they really want to get an idea of where their players are at. Because instead of going against your own players all the time, they'd really like to see your first team offense versus the opponent's first team offense. Now we'll get into the scripting of it and how you do it, because I've talked to coaches and front office people about how they like doing these things. But it's real important for teams, Josh. They want to get an idea of where their teams are at and how they want to do it going forward and how they adjust off of it. They want to see certain parts of their team and where it stands. And you can't really do it so much against your own people because they know your own plays. Whereas Mike Vrabel, the Eagles' first team offense, well, Vrabel's never seen it. He knows they run a West Coast, but he has no idea what it's going to look like because Sean Mannion's never called plays before. So he doesn't know what it's going to look like. So there's so much value in seeing how your first team offense does against the Patriots first team defense.
How much value also is it, Adam, not just for the coaches, but for the players? We heard Sean Mannion yesterday talk about how, a lot of the offense was derailed in the first preseason game because of the penalties and guys not being on the same page. So talk about the importance for the players with these 2 days.
Oh, yeah, Josh, actually, this is an important point you brought up. So let's look, the Eagles had 7 offensive penalties, okay? 3 of them killed 3 nice plays. Now, what you do is, again, I was second, third team offense, and some of the fourth team offense, no starters. But the fact of the matter is they had a bunch of mental errors, some physical errors. Those 2s could go up against the New England second team defense. They could actually run the same play because the practices are scripted. Josh, what will happen tonight? Mike Vrabel and Nick Sirianni will either meet tonight or tomorrow morning, well before practice, to run by their staff what they want to run. And New England could say, yes, we're good with that, or no, or okay, we like that. We'd rather not do this. How about this? This is what coaches have told me. They have to run it by. They're all scripted. And we'll get into that in a minute, what that looks like, what kind of scripting it looks like. But there's no question there's tremendous value in making those corrections because the Eagles' backups on not just offense, Mike, defensively, Josh, they made so many mistakes defensively. Did you see what the Ravens quarterbacks did against them?
Yeah, I think that is a big part of it, Adam. You talk about what the Ravens did to the Eagles. The Ravens on both sides of the ball looked really good for 3 quarters, and the Eagles looked like the team that, is one of the worst teams in football. But then you got to remember you got 3rd and 4th string guys in there, right, Adam?
Exactly. Right. And one thing to understand, and I know it's hard because I saw in our YouTube comments, people really upset. I understand, but understand, folks, it's not like once we get to the regular season, 11 backups will be starting. It doesn't work that way. A lot of these guys will not even play on offense or defense. A lot of them will play on special teams. Some won't even be on the football team. Some will be in the practice squad. I understand that your frustration and anger. I read the comments. We don't comment a lot on our board. We monitor them for foul language, personal, all that crazy stuff. But we let people generally say what they want. But man, the frustration level, because I think what's happened here, Josh, the offense has been intriguing in training camp. It's been a little bit better than I expected from an execution standpoint. Clearly up and down, as we expected, but there's been a lot of good. And when the fans actually get to watch it, because they don't get into training camp unless they have a business relationship with Eagles or their season ticket holders. They don't get select season ticket holders. They don't get to see practice. So they watch this game. The performances were terrible, mostly. And they're like, oh, this is ridiculous. So I feel you. But again, it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. Just relax a little bit. I'll be there. Andrew DeCecco is already there. Foxborough. I'll join him tomorrow. We tell it like it is. We don't sugarcoat anything. We try to give context to everything.
And that's why we're excited here for Football at 4, powered by the Inside of Birds podcast. We got Adam and Andrew on the ground, going to give us reports tomorrow and Thursday. And then Jeff Mosher will be the recap it all on Friday here on 97.3 ESPN. Adam, just speaking to the offense for a moment, with a new offensive coordinator, you mentioned before a guy who's never called plays in the NFL before. What do you think is going to be the biggest thing the Eagles want to get from these 2 days with Sean Mannion in the offense?
Timing, section better, limit the preset penalties. No doubt about that. Get off to a good start. Now, I don't have the Patriots injury report, but they're going to see guys like, as long as they're healthy, Milton Williams, Christian Gonzalez, a lot of big-time NFL talent. Some very underrated players that New England has in their defense. I remember talking to someone with the Patriots after the Super Bowl who said that Milton Williams, in the final quarter of their season, he dealt with, I think, a high ankle sprain. But once he got healthy, he actually carried them some weeks. He's a phenomenal football player, who obviously the Eagles know very well. And I would like to see Wicks, who obviously they held him out. We don't know about Devontae Smith because he's just getting back to practice. He's missed 2 weeks from the hamstring. Hopefully we'll see a little bit of Johnny Wilson. They were down 4 receivers, Eagles were in the preseason game. So you'd like to see a lot of these guys practicing. And then let's see how Hurts does, Josh, against a first-team defense. This is great. This is like the value that coaches get. And also, and I want to get into the scripting because that's really important. You want to see also, Josh, the timing part about it. It's not like Vrabel and his defensive coaches have never seen the West Coast offense before. They know they're going to see that, but they don't know what type of one they're going to see.
Yeah, so get to that, Adam. Explain to the audience what you mean by scripting. Because I think people, they've probably seen the concept, like on like HBO Hard Knocks or something, but they might not fully understand what that actually on a deeper level means.
All right, so this is what coaches have told me over the years. They want to work on red zone, 2-minute, 4-minute, goal line, certain personnel groupings. They want to see how the defense reacts. Not their defense, which they've run in their own practice. They want to see by the way, the Patriots run at 34. Eagles run at 34, but they're running Fangio. They're running way more zone defense than man. And their coverage responsibilities are different than the Patriots are defenses. So they want to see how the Patriots defense reacts. So they'll submit what they want to run to Vrabel. Vrabel will go over it with Sirianni. I don't know that the coordinators will be there or not, but they'll want to go through this, Josh, and they'll talk about it. The Patriots will submit what they want to run, what they want to work on, and it'll be fun. And I cannot wait to see the Eagles' first-team defense and that phenomenal defensive line against just an okay Patriot offensive line, just okay. And Drake May was a gunslinger, and obviously A.J. Brown, and the drama of that. It's going to be kind of comical, and seeing Quinion, seeing Mitchell versus A.J. Brown, or obviously will Reek Woolen be on him. That's going to be that. Talking about matchups, that's going to happen one way or the other. And Romeo Dobbs, I know they're really excited about. And some of the interesting offensive talent and running backs the Patriots have. So lots of challenges, and the scripting of how it's going to look, it's going to be very, very interesting.
And speaking of the defense, Adam, talk about who you're going to be keeping an eye on the defensive side of the ball, because we know that even though Fangio, he's established, he's the play caller, we know what he is, but there are some guys, as you and I talked about on Friday, who are on this defense. They are fighting for roster spots.
Oh, good spot. Good point, because, I was talking to Andrew earlier today. One of the biggest concerns that I have is the depth at corner is not very good. Fangio, not that we didn't know this, we've told our Patreon members this 5 months ago. Vic Fangio does not want Budejen playing corner if he can help it. Now, Jonathan Jones is hurt. We don't know when he's going to be ready, okay? You get to start practicing fully, okay? Ja'Cory Bennett's hurt. He's not had a good camp. Mac McWilliams, up and down camp. The Eagles' quality of depth at corner is not very good. The Patriots can spread them out. The Patriots are like 6 deep at receiver. Well, if they run a lot of 11 personnel against the Eagles, Josh, that's not good. Like, I want to see how they react. On your question, I'd love to see them spread them out. I want to, because you know what? If I am Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman, Eagles general manager, I want to know the quality of my players not going against my own players. I want to see how they play in practice against our guys. And there's no question. This is a big deal. Really glad you brought it up that way. Great way to frame the question, because they're going to learn about the depth at corner. Okay.
Yep.
The edge rush depth, Arnold Ebiketie, they're really excited about, paying him over $4 million, fully guaranteed. And my guy, Jay Alexander, who's been our number 58, wearing Trent Cole's old number. He's been our guy since he was drafted. We've been high on him ever since he was drafted. We didn't think he'd be this good this early. Want to see how he goes against the team that was in the Super Bowl last season, Josh. That's what makes this thing exciting. Should also mention to you, barring a major surprise, the weather's going to be good. So we're not going to have that problem. So this is going to be fascinating, Josh, to see how it all plays out.
And the other thing is, Adam, it's not just, who these specific guys are, but you're going against a quarterback who is extremely different than Jalen Hurts. Drake May is not risk averse like Jalen Hurts is.
No, he's very aggressive. He's a gunslinger. He's very athletic. He can run. He's big. He's coachable from what I'm told. I am really looking forward to this, man. And you know what? With Hurts, I've noticed this in some practices, Josh. He's made some throws where you go, wow, that's not him from last year. So let's just not assume that Hurts won't make those throws. I know that's last year. I get that in years past, but I'm fascinated to see what happens here. Really am.
We will hear all about it after day one tomorrow. Adam Caplan will join us for the next edition of Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, and follow Caplan NFL on X and Instagram for all of your NFL coverage. Adam, safe travels. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. And yes, as always, Football at 4 is brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort, the best place to watch the Eagles, Phillies, and all of your favorite teams on game days at the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino's Gallery Bar Booking Games. It's Ocean's go-to game day destination with huge screens, great drinks, and all the sportsbook action you want. It's a perfect place to catch every play and celebrate every win. Big screens, big bets, game day hits differently at Ocean Casino Resort. To learn more, visit theoceanac.com. Don't forget to check out their upcoming entertainment, including Sebastian Maniscalco, September 17th through the 20th and 24th through 27th. All right, let's get into some of the things that Adam Caplan had to say there on Football at 4 here on 97.3 ESPN. And then we'll check back in on the text board at 609-403-0973. I'll see people commenting on the YouTube stream as well. My top couple takeaways is it's very obvious to me, based on what Adam was saying and what I've heard from other people, that the Eagles are viewing this joint practice for 2 days as an opportunity to almost like a scientist who has like a theory and they want to test the theory. So they're putting, they had their theories and their ideas in a controlled environment, and now they're putting it in an environment that is not controlled, right? So it's the idea of, the variables. Now you have things that you can't always predict or expect. They know who Jalen Hurts is on defense. They don't know what Drake May is going to do. That dude is a wild card as a quarterback. What is A.J. Brown going to be like across from Romeo Doubs versus what he was like across from Devontae Smith? Are the Patriots going to ask A.J. Brown to do things differently than what they asked of him in Philadelphia? And what about the scenario where, listen, we can talk all we want about Quinyon Mitchell versus A.J. Brown. What if there's a scenario where they spread them out and they break out of the huddle, and now all of a sudden it's Budejen or a Mac Williams or a Jacorian Bennett or whoever in the slot against A.J. Brown? How does Philadelphia adjust in those situations? This is a great opportunity to find out if the guys that we expect to step up for this defense and fill those voids can do it, or if there needs to be more modifications and critiquing to the defense. And then offensively, the Patriots have a very good defense. We all knew last year during that playoff run that was a Super Bowl caliber defense that got completely taken advantage of by a very good game plan by the Seahawks. You don't think they're coming into this year trying to rebound from that, how to pivot and get back to their winning ways? And Christian Gonzalez, he wants a new contract, their number one corner. I am willing to bet that Gonzalez is the type of guy who's going to take these joint practices as an opportunity to show the Patriots, hey, don't overthink this. Give me my money. I am just as good, if not better than that guy in Seattle, Witherspoon, who just got all that money. So a lot of interesting variables. And on top of all that, you can script things all you want. But when the play actually, when the ball is snapped and when the play is ongoing, you can't script what happens with every single player and every single matchup. So what if the Patriots bring a 5-man blitz that is a stunt? How do the Eagles adjust to that? You heard Lane Johnson say in the last hour that their new scheme is meant to pick up the blitz better and let the quarterback get to his hot route. So if the blitz does come, is Jalen Hurts going to dump it off to Saquon, Dallas Goedert, or is he still in the mindset of last year's offense and he's going to hold the ball for too long and then not make the right play? Tons of questions about what we are going to see this week at joint practice, and I'm very excited that we got Adam Caplan tomorrow. We got Andrew DeCecco on Thursday reporting after the first 2 days of practice, and I can confirm for football this Friday on Happy Hour Friday here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. We can recap it all with Jeff Mosher on Football at 4, as well as Zach Berman is going to join us from The Athletic. So we got tons of Eagles coverage this week for you on 97.3 ESPN. Angie in Tuckerton chimes in and says, I love how Adam qualifies Howie's title as if we didn't know. Well, the reason why he has to do that is, Angie, you and I might know what Howie's title is. But the problem is that, and this is where I understand where you're coming from, but I also understand where Adam's coming from. The Philadelphia Eagles organization they're kind of a dictatorship. And they will reach out to media members if they write something wrong, if they report something wrong. They are notorious for that. I've actually been through that myself here at 97.3 ESPN. There have been articles that I have written, and we have gotten people from the Eagles reaching out to us complaining about how I phrased or framed something in an article. And I can only imagine if they're nitpicking an article that I wrote, what are they doing to people who are covering the team day in and day out? I've heard all kinds of stories about how particular the Eagles are. So I'm sure that Adam is not doing that for you or my edification, Angie. I'm assuming he's doing it because if he doesn't do it, he might get a call from somebody complaining that he didn't describe Howie's position correctly. So I get it that Adam can be very structured and very, hey, this is his title. But also keep in mind there might be a deeper reason for why he's doing that. So just my side point on that. But it is funny, Angie. You're right. The rest of us, we all know what Howie's position is. We don't need Howie to tell us what his position is. I love when Howie goes on interviews, like with Kay Adams and Up and Adams, or he with oh my goodness, the guy used to Todd McShay. He went on Todd McShay's podcast that streams on Netflix, and he's correcting Todd McShay and Kay Adams about what his job title is. Like, it's just so goofy. Like, Howie, it doesn't really matter what your job title is. Let it go. Rico chimes in on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0970. This is Josh. Great rant earlier on the new offensive philosophy. I love Jalen and the steely look he has in his eyes, although he wished he was more of a cheerleader on the sidelines like that one game last year. My main concern is whether the receivers will run great routes and catch the ball. That's from Rico on the White Horse RV text board. Rico, I will say, I think part of the reason why Wicks is here is because of the point you just made. Before Wicks was brought in, the Eagles really only had one high-level route runner, and that was Devontae Smith. Outside of Smith, Philadelphia didn't really have another guy who can be a quality route runner. We have heard, and we saw a little bit in the preseason game, Hollywood Brown is not running the routes properly at times. In fact, him not running the route properly is the reason why Jalen Hurts got intercepted by Quinyon Mitchell in the video that went viral last week. And without Mekhi Lemon getting practices, now we're down to Elijah Moore, and Elijah Moore is a very good player in terms of what his skill set is. But I don't know what he's going to be in this offense. None of us do. So I think it's a very fair point that will the receivers run the routes and catch the ball? And part of that is being on the same page with the quarterback. And we've heard Jalen Hurts praise two specific receivers in training camp, Latavian Wicks and Darius Cooper. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a scenario where you're going to see a lot of Darius Cooper this year, because in third down situations, Hurts and Mannion might be sitting in those meetings before Sundays saying, I can't really trust fill in the blank guy, but I trust Darius Cooper in the situation. And now you might end up seeing Cooper on the field instead of a Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, or a Mekhi Lemon. something to think about as we get ready for the start of the NFL season. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We're streaming live, as always, on YouTube and X at 973 ESPN. Coming up is another edition of Nick's Nugs. Nick Earnshaw is back after he hosted for 4 hours yesterday. He's back for his regular segment today on the Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
The Birds are back. Catch Philadelphia Eagles preseason football as the Eagles get ready for the 2026 season. Heading to Foxborough to face the AFC champion Patriots. Saturday night game coverage starts at 6 with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7.
He takes his drop. He's looking. He's grabbed. They're going to sack him and throw him down at the 23-yard line. Jalen Carter.
This is South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN.
TLC Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has been proudly serving South Jersey for over 20 years. Owner Matt Calloway was born and raised in Cape May County and has over 25 years of experience in the heating and cooling industry, as well as fireplaces, plumbing, and bathroom renovations. You can always count on a licensed and insured local contractor like TLC Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling to be there promptly and to fix your problem right the first time. If your home needs a little TLC, get TLC Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today. Online at tlcphc.com.
Go for the fun times and the tan lines. Experience an Atlantic City you never knew. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Go for the fun times and the tan lines. Experience an Atlantic City you never knew. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fantasy football season is here. Book your fantasy football league draft at Chachi's 13th floor, above Villa Raffici and Absecon. For just $20 per person, your draft package includes great food and cold beer. Chachi's 13th floor, proud partner of 97.3 and the official sports bar industry ace restaurant.
LeBron James plays here.
LeBron off the dribble to the left side, hangs, fires, jumper in the air, good again. And the King with a dominant fourth quarter. And LeBron celebrating here in Philadelphia.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Sports Bash, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Time for another edition of Nick's Nuggets. Nick Earnshaw is back. Although he was here for 4 hours yesterday. But he said, you know what? I can still do a Nuggets the next day. He's not afraid of work. You know, for as Mike Gill likes to razz Nick, Nick probably works as hard, if not harder, than like 90% of the people that we know. So I'm always going to assume that Nick is up for the job unless I'm told otherwise. He joins us right now here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can watch the show every day on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. Nick, welcome in. How you doing today?
What's going on, Mr. Josh Hennig? How are you? Another Phillies win last night. I mean, hey, they're getting hot. I just don't think it's going to last very long, Josh, as we talked about throughout the program yesterday. But I'll tell you what, they got to win. But nugget number one, I'll get into in a second. But hey, they're putting together wins right now. They're stringing together wins, and that's all you can ask for. Christopher Sanchez, league leading 16th win last night. That's all you can ask out of your guys, and they found a way to get it done, even though there was a little controversy last night.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, if the Marlins are going to complain that much about that, then I don't think they watch sports in general, because there's bad officiating and mistakes every day of the year when it comes to professional sports. So how about you just go out and do your job and don't worry about the umpires?
All right. So that's where I want to start with nugget number one, though, is that call, because I mean, that did change the game. However, listen, the Marlins had a case. It was a bad call. It was brutal. Sure. I don't know how he missed it. It was egregious. It was right on the white chalk. And I know the bases were loaded, and I know Otto Lopez runs very well. But I think they got it right. Given the 2 runs to the Marlins was fair. I think that was the right call. I think Bryce, if he's running full sprint to get that ball, no way a 3rd run is scoring and the bases are cleared. I think they got it right. They figured it out. They fixed it. That type of call can't happen in like a postseason game, etc. And it shouldn't happen ever. But I thought the umpires did get it right, Josh. Even though that's a big call in a close game. That just can't happen. That can't happen. And I'm doing this as a Phils guy. Come on. You can't get calls like that wrong at the major league level. It was so bad, but I think overall they got it right in the end. Giving them the 2 runs, that 3rd run wouldn't have scored, even with how fast the runners on base were.
Yeah, listen, it was a bad call. I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to argue that. What I'm arguing is you still could have won the game. Like it's not like that was the reason why you lost the game. Like the Marlins are trying to act like, and I don't know if you heard the video. It's actually kind of funny of the Marlins broadcast, their side of it.
Yeah, I did.
Like they're acting like that was like that doomed them or something. And you know, just to me, it's like, listen, it's like Hey, Marlins, you ever watch a football game or an NBA game or a hockey game? Bad calls happen all the time. Teams got to rebound and respond and work around it. Maybe that's the reason why you're not a playoff team, because you don't know how to handle adversity and you let the Phillies find a way to beat you instead of you find a way to beat them.
Yeah, I totally agree. And they had plenty of chances to win that ball game. That was one that they could have gotten, but I think in the end, the call was right. It was egregious. It was bad. However, this is why you have replay, and they ended up figuring it out, getting it right. So, I mean, I understand from the Marlins perspective, getting thrown out of the ball game. Okay, I get it. You're going to be mad because you think, hey, we have a run that's pretty fast. We think he might be able to score on something like that. I understand that. But listen, they got it right. 2 runs we're going to score. If Bryce Harper is chugging to that ball, yeah, you're only getting 2 runs anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I feel like the Marlins made such a big deal out of it that it became a national story, whereas if they would have just shut their mouth and tried to win, oh, wait, they didn't. So the Phillies are now have the best record in baseball in 1-run games at 22-11. You know who doesn't have that record? The Marlins.
They do not. They do not. All right, there you go. Nugget number 1. Let's move on to nugget number 2. I do want to talk about the 76ers. And I'm scrolling social media. Oh, dude, are you kidding me? I mean, why wouldn't I want to talk about the 76ers the way this team had an off season? No, I'm scrolling social media, and Tyrese Halliburton ended up on another podcast. I mean, shocker, right? And you and I, we do the dirty work for Mr. Mike Gill. We listen to some of these player podcasts and some of these random podcasts, to make sure he's informed about what's going on, because they're very important. They're very important. They got some nuggets on some of these podcasts. You're just like, you're just up and saying this. So I don't know if you remember years and years ago during the Ben Simmons saga, okay? Take yourself back to that time period when we didn't know who was going to get traded for. Was he going to get traded to the Kings? Was he going to get traded here, there, to Brooklyn? It ended up being to Brooklyn for James Harden. But the rumors surrounding Tyrese Halliburton were always out there and always around. And apparently they got so loud that Mr. Joel Hans Embiid even tried wink, wink recruiting Tyrese Halliburton. Take a listen to what Tyrese had to say.
GM's being weird. I think you might be getting traded. I'm like, what? And then I'm trying to make some calls because remember Philly, they were talking about they were either like there was a big talk of Fox for Ben Simmons or me for Ben Simmons.
Right.
And when we had played Philly, Joel was like, yo, like, what we doing, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm in my second year. Like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, I called my best friend George Nia, and I called him at the time. I'm like, yo, what are you hearing? He's like, let me ask. And he was like, nah, it ain't Philly.
So apparently, Joel was in favor of the Tyrese Halliburton trade if it were for Ben Simmons back in the day. And then Georges Niang, I mean, this guy apparently knows everybody and everything. And he got a phone call from Tyrese Halliburton. He's like, yeah, you're not coming to Philadelphia. It's not happening. That's a crazy story.
My biggest takeaway from that is, when is George Niang, NBA insider, going to debut?
I know. Like, what does he have? Like, is he a GM whisperer at this point? I mean, my goodness.
Who does George Niang know? That's what I want to know.
Who was the GM at this time? It was Daryl, right? It was Daryl at this time.
Yes.
So is George Niang the Daryl Morey whisperer?
Listen, I love the fact that it's like, oh, then George Niang explained it to me. I will say, to this day, I run into Sixer fans, Nick, that wanted them to trade for Tyrese Halliburton. They're still mad about it. They never forgave Daryl, because there were a lot of people when Daryl Morey made that Simmons for Harden trade. The idea was people were like, you're only getting him because Harden's your boy. And, they never gave the benefit of the doubt. They never gave it a chance. And as soon as Morey got rid of Harden, it was like, good riddance. We don't care, And so I think that, the funny part of that audio is literally first of all, Tyrese being like, I'm only my second year in the league. What do I know? Like, that part's hilarious too. Like, he's just kind of like, taken aback by the whole thing. But you also got to love Joel having fun with it. Like, it just kind of goes to show you that Joel has never been scared of having other great players around him.
No.
He wants to play with great players. Like this narrative, Nick, that how is Joel going to handle playing with LeBron and Jaylen Brown? Like I never understood where that narrative came from because Joel has never been scared to play with big name players. He's never been a me, I, give me the ball guy. Do we want him to be like that sometimes in certain situations? Yes.
Yeah.
But, I don't feel like, to me, it's just another example of Joel is a guy who wants to win and he doesn't care if it's LeBron James or Tyrese Halliburton. He wants the guy on this team.
Yeah. And listen, Joel's played with how many stars throughout his career now? I mean, you go down the list. I got like every jersey. It's like Jimmy Butler. Okay. Tobias. I'm not saying Tobias Harris is a star. I'm just saying good players that he's had. I mean, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, James Simmons, Paul George. The list of names at this point that have played for the 76ers. It's just crazy about how many stars and good players they've had, and it just has not panned out for the 76ers. So I want to pose this question to you in the audience as well, 609-430-0973, if you want to jump aboard into the conversation. If they make that Tyrese Halliburton trade instead of the James Harden trade, I don't know if we get to this day where Jaylen Brown and LeBron are a Sixer. What changes? And do you think this would still be the case and we'd be here if Tyrese Halliburton was traded here? Do you think the Sixers would have any semblance of a title if it were for Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield? It's a good what if.
I think you would at least go to a conference finals.
Okay.
Can I say
So
that?
they would have done better if they traded for Halliburton instead of Harden.
Yes, because I think Halliburton with Maxey would have been a better tandem than Harden and Maxey. But on the flip side, Maxey has said that he learned a lot from playing with James Harden and that it made him the player that he is now. So would you have gotten all-star Maxey if he was playing with Halliburton? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
I think that's a great point you bring up. The development of Tyrese Maxey, I don't think is the same player as he is today if James Harden did not get there. I think James Harden was instrumental into the player Tyrese Maxey is today. And Tyrese Maxey's a main reason LeBron is here, and it's the main reason this team is relevant because of Tyrese Maxey. I think the step back taken from Harden, clearly. Yeah, that there are odes of Harden in Tyrese Maxey's step back three. I mean, you can see it. He tries to do it all the time. And I remember when he first got here, Embiid and Maxey were trying to do the step back three like James Harden. If you remember, you go back, watch some of those highlights, those early games, they were trying to be like James. All right. So James Harden, as much as he's a pain in the ass, he left an actual imprint on this roster and on a guy like Tyrese Maxey. So I don't know if the development would have been same. I think you're right about the fit, but I don't know if Tyrese Maxey becomes the same player if it wasn't for James Harden. And I don't think you get to this point of having Jaylen Brown, of having LeBron, because he didn't make the mistake of getting Paul George, etc. That doesn't happen. All of that, so much stuff could have changed. You don't have Bob Myers in the mix, Mike Gansey. I mean, just the way things play out sometimes are integral to winning a championship. And sometimes you just get lucky. And that could be the Sixers in this case, right? If the Sixers win a title with this core, all that happened before that was all for a reason, right? Chip Kelly. I mean, you don't get a Super Bowl if Chip Kelly doesn't come here. You don't. Because that doesn't lose Doug Peterson.
I would also say, and this is maybe the unintended consequence of the butterfly effect here.
Yep.
But if the Pacers don't get Halliburton,
is
there someone else that they get? Because the Pacers were very actively shopping Sabonis. So do they end up with Dame Lillard? Do they end up with Karl Anthony Towns? Do they end up with Anthony Davis? Like, there's all kinds of guys who have been traded over the years that you have to wonder. I'm not saying it would have happened, but the Pacers were very intent on trading Sabonis because they didn't want to give him a contract extension. They got Halliburton. But if it wasn't Halliburton, could have been somebody else. And it's like, okay, you have Halliburton and Maxey, but you don't have VJ Edgecombe. You don't have Jalen Brown. You don't have LeBron. So is not having Halliburton for 2 years, but getting those other guys worth it?
Yeah. It's crazy the effect one move can have on an entire league, on the way things go, on the way teams shape their roster, on decision-making, etc. And that one move of him not coming to Philadelphia in that Ben Simmons trade changed a lot of things. And now this is what you get. Jaylen Brown and LeBron James are 76ers. I mean, you can go back to that as a big reason as to why Jaylen Brown and LeBron James are 76ers because of the decisions back then, Josh.
All right, so I got a nugget for you. Okay.
I know. I looked at the time. I'm like, I'm going to leave a couple minutes because I know Hennig, he's got a nugget. He's got a slice of jerky like we talked about yesterday. He texted me today. He's like, I got something for you, Nuggets. What do you got, Josh?
So I'm listening to on Sportsman like this morning.
Oh, boy.
And, fellow Eagles fan Pat Costello took umbrage with something that Mike Golick Sr. said on the Golick show. Okay. So a little ESPN radio and ESPN radio crime. And I want you to weigh in on this because it's not a sports thing. It's kind of a bro question. All right.
Okay.
So if you have further questions, I will answer them. So what I did was I found what Golick Sr. originally said.
Okay.
And I got Pat Costello's complaint about it. And I want your and the audience's reaction. Here we go.
I can't believe you guys played beer pong in your mid-30s. My fiance was the commissioner of the Stanford Business School Beer Pong League when she was there. Wow. Busted out an American flag fanny pack that was full of like 20 ping pong balls. Never seen anything like it in my life. So old habits die hard, as do leftovers here on this show.
Golick Sr., what's wrong with playing beer pong in your mid-30s? Beer pong is super fun. I don't know what's wrong with this. I don't know why he's got an issue with that one.
Nick Earnshaw, your thoughts?
Ooh, all right. So I'm pushing 30 now, as we talked about yesterday. I think it's still okay for me to play beer pong. I think once you start hitting your mid-30s, I think you got to retire from the beer pong.
Really?
I think you got to retire. Yeah, it's a little collegey. Like, listen, in college, I was a beer pong king. All right, let me tell you. You could not get me off that table. That's probably why I'm still single, because he couldn't get me off that table. And I am a very competitive individual. There was one time in college, I went like 20 games, 25 games in a row. All right. And I was just the king. All right. But I think once you start hitting your 30s, it's like you got to go to horseshoes. Okay. Horseshoes, I think, might be the game for you in the backyard. So I think the beer pong's got to be out in the mid-30s. I think it might have to be. If you're playing with your kids, like they got the big beer pong, not like the pong thing, that game with the giant cups now on the beach with the family, that's fine. But the actual beer pong itself in the mid-30s, I think you're a little past it. I think you're a little past it at that point.
Wow. All right. So I got to admit,
that's not the answer you expected, huh?
No. And I disagree with you on this because to me, there's nothing more like nostalgic than hanging out with your boys and you're just sitting around and someone suggests to play anything that you did when you were younger. Like, I'm in my 40s. Okay. I'm way ahead of you in this situation.
You are. So you have more of a say here.
So like for me, I look at it like this. Are we going out of our way to play beer pong? No. Are we going to house parties? People have it set up in their house? No. Most of the times it's something that might come up randomly. Like when I was younger, the other game we used to do aside from beer pong was Cards Against Humanity. That was a big deal.
Yes.
At 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning at a house party. All right. So it's like, it's not that we're looking to do these things. Because guess what? Guys in my age, we are playing horseshoes at the beach. We are playing cornhole. Okay. Yep. But every once in a while, you might be at a buddy's house and they might be like, maybe their kids are asleep. They can't go out to the local establishment, right? Yeah, they can't go hang out at Ocean Casino Resort like you were yesterday with Pete G. And it's like, what are we going to do? And they're like, I got solo cups and pong balls. You want to play beer pong? I can't go out. Sure, why not? Why don't we go pick up something in the local liquor store and we'll just hang out for the night? Be responsible.
I hear you. I haven't played beer pong in a couple of years, and I'm 26. I'm 26 years young, and I haven't played it. I haven't gotten the urge to play it. That's the other thing. Like, I think it's okay if it's like you're in your mid 30s and like you're at a grad party or something like that, and someone's graduating college, and you're there for like your nephew or your niece or something. They got the beer pong out. You want to play a couple games, fine, okay. But you shouldn't be going out of your way to bring out the table, set up the cups at like 36. I think you go out of the way, it's a little much.
I think the game is Flip Cup. To me,
Love
that's
Flip
the
Cup.
game
Yeah.
where it's like you get to a certain age, you're not playing Flip Cup anymore.
Yeah. Flip Cup's out. What about dies? Beer die out too?
Oh, yeah. That's just
got to be out.
I didn't even do that when I was in college. Like,
I
always thought it was dumb.
Now, it was my game. Beer pong was my game. And I will say I was a king at it. Absolute king. Shout out, go Profs. All right, there you go, Hennig. Little nuggets for you. Love it.
Nick Earnshaw will be back tomorrow for a Hump Day Wednesday edition of Nuggets here on 97.3 ESPN. Nick, talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
All right, coming up on the other side, we got Phillies Fastball here on 97.3 ESPN. Oscar Budejen is back, and we'll get his perspective on Phillies winning 6 of their last 8. Should we get excited? We'll ask Oscar next on 97.3 ESPN.
home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored.
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig Philly for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash Tuesday edition on 97.3 ESPN. 5 o'clock hour on tap. We got more Phillies to get to this hour, plus your thoughts and comments on the White Horse RV text board at 609-403-0373 White Horse RV in Williamstown and Galloway. Your RV adventure starts here. In addition to Phillies Fastball, brought to you by Vendor Social, the place to go to catch every Phillies game on their 20 big screen TVs while enjoying great food and drink. Visit their Facebook page for up-to-date info and specials. Sports Bash will be back there on the 26th of this month. Mike Gill will be back there. But for today, Mike Gill with the Cheech and Chomsky. Dave's not here, man. Mike Gill is not here. But we do have Oscar Budejen joining us for today's Phillies Fastball here on 97.3 ESPN. And Oscar, the Phillies have won 6 of their last 8 games. Is it time to get excited?
Well, I mean, it's moving in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. And the fact, the news coming out of the dugout in Arizona or the clubhouse in Arizona is not very promising. With Ketel Marte missing the game yesterday, missing in action. He didn't show up for the game. And I'm hearing that he's on the way back to Arizona. I mean, he's probably, if not a better hit. I mean, I love Corbin Carroll, but Ketel Marte is not too far behind. I mean, among the top 2 players in the Arizona Diamondbacks. So, look, the Phillies are hitting like they have not hit in a while. I was looking at some of the stats here by some of the guys. I mean, in the month of August, 16 games for Harper, 321 batting average, and a slugging of 547, 520 on base percentage, and 1,067. And then everybody's asking the question, why is Luis Arraez hitting 4th? So I think the Phillies knew something about it. Even though Arraez is not playing, I mean, he has a 624 OPS in August. Look, you look at what Alec Bohm is doing. Alec Bohm is hitting 368 in 16 games in August. Bryson Stott 358. I mean, just like, what's going on here? It just extend the whole lineup, and it just takes it to another level.
You mentioned about the hitting. I wanted to ask you about that as well, because Bryce Harper is on this 21-game on-base streak. So I did a little research, Oscar. Are you familiar with what happened when the last time Bryce Harper did not get on base?
No, what happened? What happened?
So I did a little tracking of it. That was the day that Harper said we need more help, and he got criticized for it down in Miami. Ever since he said that, he's done his job, Oscar. He's got on base 21 straight games. Like, think about how wild this is. Remember people were criticizing him for saying, oh, why are you saying we need help? You need to go out there and do your job. You know what Harper said? I am going to do my job. Watch this.
I mean, the reality is, and we knew it all along, that this is a flawed lineup that has issues. For the first time in a while, Harper has protection behind him that he didn't have before in somebody that makes so much contact like Arraez. So it makes a whole world of difference, and people are pitching around him, trying to get to Arraez. And look, it's showing on the numbers, and Harper's it's definitely doing his part. I mean, talking about elite, he's been elite in the month of August. I would not say the same thing about some of the other month of the year, but he's been absolutely on a tear in the month of August.
How much do you think Harper's tear has kind of maybe turned into a domino for the rest of the guys?
I mean, some. I mean, I could tell you some. I don't think, to me, part of the issue with the Phillies has not been Harper. I think the key guy on this lineup, I mean, it starts with Schwarber. In my opinion, this team goes how Schwarber goes. Schwarber has not been doing really well in the month of August, but I'm expecting a big turnaround. But look what he did in the Field of Dreams game. He doesn't hit those 2 home runs, and it's 3 less runs, and we have a ball game. I mean, it's that's kind of the reality of it. I do believe this team's chances stand on the bat. Number 1 of Kyle Schwarber, number 2 of Bryce Harper, number 3, you could put Arraez now in that list now that Turner hasn't been doing much lately either. So, look, it's a very streaky team. It's a team that depends too much on the long ball, in my view. I do believe that Arraez brings a different dimension, a dimension that we have not talked about enough, which is we absolutely strike out more than we should. We don't get on base on balls, and we don't get on base. So, at the name of the game, you need to get on base in order to score. If not, you depend too much on the home run, which is how this team has been living. And now with Arraez there, it just opens a new dimension that this team have not had before. And if you add that combination of Arraez to both Bryson and Stott, which has been on a tear. Bryson and Stott's OPS have been going up over the last 5 months. So it's not he's not like a 1 month mirage or whatever, oasis or whatever you could call. I don't necessarily trust the Alec Bohm hot streak. I think that will go off at some point, but hey, let's ride it while we can. And this team has won 5 straight games, and we gotta keep enjoying it. And look, I do believe, and I said it all along, and I said it yesterday. To me, the 3 teams that are going to be the wild card in the National League are going to be Chicago, the Cubs, it's going to be the Padres, and it's going to be the Phillies. What order? Maybe we're 5th, maybe we're 6th. I mean, it will depend on that. The interesting part, if you're 5th, you're gonna face the Cubs. If you're 6th, you're gonna play either Atlanta or the Dodgers, assuming that the Milwaukee Brewers finishing winning the having the best record in MLB, which is what I would expect.
Yeah, and the Brewers, they need to get Bryce Terang back on the field. He's missed a bunch of games.
I think he's back tonight. I was looking at something here, and it just popped up that he might be on the lineup tonight. So I'll check as we go into the podcast.
And of course, we're talking with Oscar Budejen.
He's leading off. He's leading off for the Brewers.
Okay, so he's back today. All right.
Yeah, he's back today.
Well, so the Brewers got to keep their guys healthy in order to maintain that number 1 spot. And I don't know, Oscar. I mean, the way the Dodgers are spiraling, who knows what they're going to be when October rolls around. They could turn this around, or they could keep, just kind of, putting their way to the finish line at this point.
Look, the Brewers know how to play baseball, and they're really, really good at what they do. Can they do this during the postseason is the big question for the Brewers. They have not proven it to be very effective in their career. So that's something that worries me a little bit about the Brewers in general. But look, it is what it is. I mean, this team has a great chance of winning, being the number 1 seed. In my opinion, the Brewers are. I do believe that probably the Braves and the Dodgers are going to fight it out for 2nd or 3rd. That's kind of how I would see it at this point. Now, I do believe, and people ask me, who in your opinion basically lost the trading deadline? And I've said it here before, and I'll repeat it again. To me, it was the Milwaukee Brewers. They needed to get Tarek Skubal. You get Tarek Skubal and Misarowski 1 and 2 in a postseason, anything could happen. I mean, they don't need to hit as much to be able to win games with those 2 guys in the mound.
And Oscar, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anyone, but I don't care what Jeff Passan and Buster Olney say. I know they're great reporters, but there's no way that the Dodgers gave the Tigers a better package than if the Brewers were willing to give up their guys. Like, if the Brewers were serious, they had the farm system to go out and get Skubal. There's no way that the Tigers would have said no to that if both offers were on the table.
My understanding is that they asked for Henderson, the starting pitcher for the Brewers, and the Brewers said it's out of the questions, and they did not have further discussion. So, look, it is what it is. Each team views their world. I understand what the Brewers and how the Brewers operate, which is a low-budget team. Now with what's going to happen? I mean, with the potential stoppage that is going to happen probably December, whatever, 31st or December 1st. I mean, you're basically going to enter a very unique situation because I do believe we're going to miss games. I mean, that's my belief. We're going to miss games. And look, you have that window. You have the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Milwaukee Brewers are very similar in terms of their profile. This is their window. This is their window to go in and win a World Series. The American League is completely wide open. Anybody can win the American League. The National League is a lot stronger when you have the Dodgers there. The Dodgers, I mean, yesterday Edwin Diaz allowed 3 more runs, so he has an 11 ERA. So I mean, they're not. I mean, they're having their issues, but I do believe they have so much depth that they're going to find a way to do it. In my view.
Talking with Oscar Budejen for today's Phillies Fastball here on Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. You mentioned this name earlier. I want to circle back to him. You know, for all the conversation we have had about the other guys in this lineup, we need to give Bryson Stott his flowers. He is hitting over 300 for the last 2 months. And this is a guy who's doing it in the midst of a position change that some people were wondering, could he even do it, right? So
we almost got a triple play yesterday, by the way.
Right. So, I mean, I think it's time that we have a moment to acknowledge what Bryson Stott is doing. Because in a lineup where Marsh has dipped since the All-Star break, Alec Boehm is the streakiest guy on planet Earth. Schwarber has, 4 home runs in the last 25 games. Stott has been Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, I mean, look, Stott, as I mentioned, in April, he has a 530 OPS. In May, 778. In June, 789. From 778 to 789. 804, which is a great OPS in July. And he's at over 1,000 during the month of August. So he's absolutely doing his part. I mean, to me, this guy, I've always hoped that he would be a really good ball player. I like what he does, how he approaches things. By the way, I didn't like what he did on Sunday after Schwarber got the double. He needed to move him over. So still some work to be done there, but absolutely love the fact that he's been playing so much better. Can you believe this? They put Ketel Marte, that didn't show up for the game yesterday, on the restricted list, and today they're sending him to Arizona for an MRI on his knee. Come on, guys. I mean, who are we kidding here?
They're covering up for something.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he doesn't want to play for them anymore. That's I heard it this morning, and it's probably the case. And look, you never know. I mean, there could be family issues, there could be mental issues, there could be a number of different things. But hey, we gotta pull for our fellow man here. So hopefully he's okay and he can come back, because he's a very, very talented ball player.
Yeah, I hope he's okay, but I will say at the same time, if he didn't want to play there, they should have decided that a month ago. They could have traded him.
Yeah, I mean, they could have, and they could have gotten a very good return for him.
A huge return.
He's a great ball player. I know that name has been swirling in the Philadelphia world. Now that we have a Rise, probably will not swirl anymore because he's a second baseman. But I do believe this kid is going to be a great ball player.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, Arias is younger than Marte, isn't he?
Yeah, Arias is 29. I think Marte is like 32, somewhere
Arias,
there. I mean,
yeah, I thought he was like 2 or 3 years younger. So
but Ketel Marte, I mean, he can do anything in the baseball field. I mean, he's really, really good. I as I said, I prefer Corbin Carroll, but he would be number 2 without a doubt.
By the way, speaking of Arias, someone texted into the show earlier saying they hope the Phillies re-sign Luis Arias this offseason. And I did a little research, Oscar. I didn't realize this. The agency that represents Luis Arias, did you know it's the same one that represents Jimmy Rollins?
No, I didn't know that.
So I mean, that's a pretty good ace in the Phillies' back pocket, right? You know,
I mean, look. I think Arias have been going through many different teams over the last 4 years. I think he wants some stabilization, and I do believe he offers the Phillies what the Phillies don't have. And I think he fits perfectly in this lineup, and I do believe they're going to send him to a 3 or 4 year deal extension. That's what I would expect. 3 to 4 year extension on Arraez, where he's going to be making very good money. I mean, Jeff Kerr was putting up this morning that since Luis Arraez arrived to the lineup, the batting average of the Phillies is third in baseball. The OPS, the on-base percentage, is number 1, which is amazing, right? 4 weeks ago, we were dead last in baseball with a 303 on-base percentage. Now, since he arrived, we're at 365. I mean, number 1 in baseball, 13.1, number 1 in baseball in base on ball rates, number 30th in baseball, or the least amount of Ks. This is unheard of. I mean, one guy transformed this entire lineup. I mean, maybe him and Alec Bohm figuring out how to hit, at least for a month.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Arraez be here more than just a few months.
He's 29. I mean, so he's at a good age. He deserves a nice extension. Yep. I mean, a 3 to 4 year deal that would be wonderful, and he will add a bunch to his team. Look, his energy. He's so jovial when he plays. Yep. I mean, the other day he misses a pitch and then he goes out and do push-ups in the middle of the plate. I mean, he's like that. He's a fun guy to be around. I mean, and it's contagious. So hopefully the winning continues. And Wheeler needs to turn it around today. He's going against the Marlins. This is the 30th time that he pitches against the Marlins. The Marlins have had his number historically, but I'm hoping you will see a turnaround from Zach today at home. He wants to prove a few people that the last 4 games have been a blips and not who he is as a pitcher.
Yeah, let's get into Wheeler. He has lost 3 straight decisions. This is the 3 straight is the longest streak he's had in 5 years. It's 1 shy of his career long. So how much, Oscar, do you think is it Wheeler? Is it mechanical? Do you think it's mental? Like, what do you think it is for Zach?
I think it's the hot days of summer here. Just so you know, against the Marlins in his career, this is going to be the 30th game. He has 29 starts, 14-4 with a 2.80 ERA. I mean, get ready. Remember I guaranteed the game yesterday? I'm guaranteeing you a win tonight. So get ready. I mean, yesterday I got a little worried there being a one-run game, but I can guarantee you right now that Zach Wheeler is winning tonight.
By the way, Phillies' best record in baseball on one-run games, 22-11. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, it started really good. Then we lost 5 straight, and I think we won the last 2. So we're regaining our mojo and our momentum here. And we said it all along, Judge. We got to take advantage of the schedule because it's going to get really, really rough in about a week. I mean, we're going on the road. We got to play in Seattle. We got to play with the Angels. We got to play against the Diamondbacks. Then we come home and we play Braves, Astros, and the Braves again. And particularly the Astros and Arizona. They're in Seattle. They're in must-win situation. So it's not going to be easy.
I saved another question that came in earlier in the show for you, Oscar. Someone was asking about the bullpen. They were saying that they just don't trust Kerkering or Alvarado anymore. So, I mean, is Jonathan Bolin that guy now? Like, are we looking at a situation where Bolin is, basically going to be handling a lot of these 7th and 8th innings?
Yeah, I mean, the question, and I was hoping Riley would be the other guy. To me, those are the 3 guys that at this point I trust the most. I do believe that McFarland has tremendous potential down the road. But look, it's a strain. I mean, like, for example, Jose Alvarado, this month, he's pitched 5 times, 9 ERA. You get like a guy like Sugar. Over the last, he's pitched 5 times, a 2.84 ERA. Kerkering, 5.40 ERA in 9 relief appearances. Misa, 1.17. And Bolin, 2.25. I mean, to me, number 1, of course, is our closer. Second, after our closer, after the run. By the way, he's been scuffing here. I mean, coughing a few runs here lately. But let's just saw. Duran is our closer, period. I do believe Bolin and Riley are the 8th, 7th, and 8th inning guys. And then below that, you would find the Alvarados and the Maisas of this world and the Kirkerings of the world and McFarland's. That's how I would put the tier. And then the last pitcher would be Sugar.
And of course, Caleb Killian, he'll be out for the rest of the month. So we have no idea what his role may or may not be, because even when he does come back, Oscar, I mean, he probably going to need to go on a rehab assignment or two.
Yeah, it might be too late. It might be too late by the time we need him. He had like a 5 ERA with San Francisco. I do believe they acquired him because they have multi years with him.
Yes,
and I do believe this guy has potential down the road. I mean, his curve and his curveball and changeup are really, really good. They're out pitches, and he just needs to get in a system and try to make the best out of him. But I do believe that to me is a tier. Tier 1 is Johan Duran as a closer. Tier 2 is Riley and Bolin, and then the tier 3 would be Kirkering, Alvarado, Maisa, and Sugar.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
What was that?
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, look, I'm not very excited. Look, when you the postseason is where your bullpen gets completely exposed.
Yeah.
So the question to me is, okay, can we move Painter there? And I was telling to the guys yesterday, to Nick and Pete, I was telling them, look, can Painter, let's see how Painter finishes a year, because he could be the Sasaki of last year.
Yep.
He could be a guy that you could depend on, because let's be very clear. You're not going to be able to use, Durant and Bolin and Riley every single day. You might have to use them, but so you need depth. And right now, this bullpen does not have the depth that you need beyond those top 3 irons in terms of trust level.
Yeah, and I think that before we let you go, Oscar, I would also say that, when it comes to Painter, you could argue he actually might have better stuff than Sasaki does. So it would be interesting to see if he does finish the year strong, what that would look like coming out of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. To me, it's wait and see. I think we have 36 more games to go. We're all down to the most important part of the year. The team is playing well. We've won the last 4 games. We have the possibility, and I'm guaranteeing you the 5th game tonight. The big question is going to be once we face Arizona, what is the state of their team? Once we face the Braves, and we play, I think, 7 more games against the Braves. So there's still a chance. And we're 6.5 games out of the, let me see here. What's the latest and greatest? It's 6.5 games. We have 58 losses and they have 51 losses. So we're 7 games in the loss column, which is what you should look right now. But the Braves are 4-6 in the last 10 games. And they started playing better baseball. I do believe they have issues on with their starting pitching. I don't think they have enough depth. They got the Martin Perez of this world being the elite arms. And the guy's like 50 years old. He's a countryman. And he's 50 years old. It's like, how long can you hold it with Martin? He's pitching tonight, by the way. And then the Brad Elders of this world. It's this team. I like the Miley acquisition. I thought that was a very smart acquisition by them, probably blocking the Phillies from getting him. But look, outside of Chris Sale, I would not put my hands on fire for their starters. I would do for a top 3.
Yeah, he's Oscar Budejen, Phillies Fastball each day on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Oscar will be back with us tomorrow as we get you ready for the 3rd and final game of the Phillies and Marlins series. Oscar, great stuff today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, Josh. See you tomorrow. And there's Campanazo time there. Derwin is putting Campanazo time. Yeah, we'll go. Campanazo! Take it easy, man.
Take care. Oscar Budejen joining me here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, Phillies Fastball is brought to you as it is each day by Ventnor Social, the place to go to catch every Phillies game on their 20 big screen TVs while enjoying great food and drink. Visit the Facebook page for up-to-date info and specials. And don't miss the Sports Bash. Will be back at Ventnor Social on August 26th. That's where you can catch Mike Gill and the Sports Bash next at Ventnor Social. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN. We will check back in on the text board, 609-403-0973. That is the Whitehorse RV text board. We're also streaming live on YouTube and X. Just follow at 973 ESPN. Josh Hennig back here on the Sports Bash, 973 ESPN. We'll get back to the text board in just a moment at 609-403-0973. Couple things I want to hit on really quick before we get back to the text board. I did think it was interesting the whole conversation about, for those who don't know the whole story. So, Ketel Marte, you heard me and Oscar talk about it a little bit there. So, he basically, we have no idea when he's coming back, if he's coming back for the Diamondbacks. And this just kind of just goes to show you how volatile a baseball season can be, because he is arguably, if not their most important, their second most important player. There's no way the Diamondbacks are going to maintain without him. This is a team that does not have a good pitching staff in Arizona. So they desperately need their offense to pick them up most nights of the week. So if Marte is not available, that basically tells you the Diamondbacks are cooked. And considering the Diamondbacks are already one game out of the final wild card spot, and you heard us mention that you play the Diamondbacks in a couple weeks. By the time you play the Diamondbacks, are they still going to be above 500? So that takes a team completely out of the conversation when it comes to the wild card. They got 2 more games left in Boston, and then they got to play the Reds, the Cubs, and they travel to San Francisco for a 4-game set before they play Philadelphia. The only saving grace Arizona has right now is that Brandon Pfaadt, ever since he returned from the minor leagues, has been absolutely on fire as a pitcher. So, but one guy isn't going to save your team. One pitcher does not save your entire rotation. So, I don't know how Arizona is going to maintain this moving forward. I don't know how they're going to stay above water and keep doing what they're doing. So I have a ton of questions about who and what Arizona is moving forward. And then the other point about the wild card race that we should hit on. So right now, the Phillies are 6.5 games behind the Braves in the NL East. They are 5 games behind the Cubs. So it's kind of half a dozen, one or the other. And I don't think the Cubs are going to stumble down the stretch at all. I think the Cubs, they are locked and loaded. They are barreling toward the postseason. Oscar's right. If the Braves, for some reason, keep hitting that struggle bus, if they keep having issues with consistent hitting and their starting rotation, what are they going to be when you get to them in September? Still to come on the Braves schedule. By the way, they lost last night to the Twins. You just swept the Twins, and the Braves just lost to the Twins last night. The Braves still got to play the Brewers and the Dodgers in back-to-back 3-game sets before they even get to face you. The Braves got a wonky schedule coming up because they got some make goods because of rain delays. So who knows what the Braves will be by the time you get to see them. And Chris Sale can't start every game for the Braves. That's a 4-game set you got against them at the beginning of September, and then a 3-game set a weekend later. You have to wonder, is it more likely for you to catch the Braves or the Cubs at this point? Something to think about. Get to the text board at 609-403-0973. Rico chimes in and says, Josh Crawford is quietly having a decent rookie year. I'm surprised he's not getting more credit. Check the stats. Well, I think the reason why Crawford is not getting the credit is because, one, I don't think anyone came into this year looking at him as a guy who was going to have this like massive impact. And with the way Stott has played and with the acquisition of Arias, whatever Crawford does at this point is kind of like a bonus. That's at least how I look at it, Rico. Now, in terms of the stats, they're a little misleading because on the year, he has a .314 on base percentage. Not great. Especially for a guy whose best asset is being able to get on the base paths and wreak havoc. Again, that's on the year. Since July 1st, he has played better. I think that is really what the key is. Because since July 1st, he has a .295 batting average with a .330 on base percentage. But the problem is that he's not playing a lot of games. He's basically a platoon player at this point. So I don't know if them platooning him with Derek Hill is putting him in a better position to be successful. And that is why he's got the .295 batting average and the .330 on base percentage. The other side of the coin is in his last 36 games, he only has 6 stolen bases. You'd like that number to be double. I think Crawford, the reason why he's not getting more credit, Rico, is because most of the work he's done has been since he became a platoon player, number one. And number two, on the season, he only has 16 stolen bases in 116 games. You were hoping he'd be closer to 30 stolen bases at this point than 20. So I think that's why he doesn't get more credit, because people are looking at him and kind of wondering, like, is there more there? Or is this just who he is at this point in the season? Got some texts coming in, very different texts about the whole ping pong issue at 609-403-0973. So I got Corey and Woodbine chimes in saying, I played beer pong last year. My elbows hurt for days. It stinks getting old. I'm 48 and I still got it. On the flip side, I got Ray at AHT saying, Josh, I can't believe that you're 40-something years old and you play beer pong. I have to shake my head. This one is probably one of the only times I agree with Nick Nuggets. So I got Ray and EHT shaking his head at me. I got Corey Woodbine saying, oh, yeah, it's cool you play beer pong. I got Pat Costello saying beer pong is fun. I got Angie and Tuckerton chiming in on the stream saying Nick is so right on this. Play trivia, Josh. You would kill in the sports cat. So here's the thing. All right. I'm prefacing this again. I thought I did it well enough in the original segment, but maybe I didn't. Myself or no one I knows is going out of our way to play beer pong. Okay? I've not been in a situation where anyone has said, come over to the house tonight, we're playing beer pong. I've never been in that situation for years. At least a decade or more. What I'm referring to is if you're at your buddy's house and you're hanging out with some friends, I wouldn't be surprised if I was in a circumstance where someone said, you know what we haven't done in years? We haven't played beer pong. And everyone was like, you know what? Let's play. Now, look, my friend group, everyone I know, when it comes to like the bro games, we'll call them, everyone is playing horseshoes at the beach or they're playing cornhole anywhere. So I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment. My original point was that I just don't think it's that crazy to sit here and just say, if you're of a certain age, you just shouldn't be playing beer pong, especially considering anyone of my age group also is not playing beer pong in the way other people are talking about. I think that's kind of where my gripe is with all this. My gripe with all this isn't that we should be playing beer pong. It's the fact that I don't think it's an age thing. You're not telling your buddies don't play basketball because you're too old and your knees are wrecked. I just don't have to jump. I mean, I don't think there should be ever an age limit on any game. Okay. Now, I have been curious about the people who still spend hours playing video games. And maybe it's because of my work schedule. I gave up playing video games long before I stopped trying to play beer pong. Okay. Because of my work schedule. The people who still go out there and play, I don't know, Call of Duty or Halo, or I don't even know what the games are anymore. There's so many of that, but let's just go with Madden, okay? To me, if you're the person who's still spending hours and hours and hours playing Xbox or PlayStation, I just want to know what's your job? Because unless your job is to play video games, I know for me, as I got older, my work schedule made playing video games basically no fun because I couldn't commit the time that I used to in my teens and in my 20s of playing video games. So to me, I feel like unless you have a job that has you working maybe less hours than I do, maybe video games are still a thing. I don't know. You guys can tell me. I got a bunch of texts coming in to get to. 609-403-0973. Jeff in Summers Point says, Josh, I'll listen to the haters. Beer pong is fun for everyone. We literally have a family parties, and I'll play with my little cousins who are in their 20s and my aunts and uncles. It's a fun game for the whole family. We have a tournament style. I'm 36. I still love beer pong, cornhole, and horseshoes as well. It's all fun, says Jeff in Summers Point. Yeah, I feel like it just depends on, I think it depends on your social group. I don't think that beer pong at a certain age is like a bad thing. I got Tom and Margate says, Josh, you're still young at heart. Anyone who will not play beer pong is not young at heart. Beer pong is ageless. Now, based on Tom and Margate, I know Tom and Margate is much older than me. So if Tom and Margate says it's ageless, I'm going to lean to Tom and Margate. Okay. A texter says beer pong is not a bad way to be a social drinker, and it's an opportunity for anybody of any age to play. Text didn't leave their name, but cool. I got Joey D chiming in. Says, yeah, horseshoes and cornhole. Yes, beer pong is fun, but it's a game you play to get drunk, to get fast. Give me beach games any day of the week, says Joey D and Metner. Yeah, that's why I said Joey D earlier. It's like, if you happen to be at a friend's house and let's say they have kids and they can't go out, maybe you set up the beer pong just to kind of hang out with some buddies. But yeah, I probably would say if I had to pick of the three, I'm probably going to go cornhole. But it's also because I'm not the best at horseshoes, but I'm also not the best at like darts or I don't remember being that great at cornhole, honestly. I felt like that was more one of those games you just did to be social more than anything else. Tim at Summers Point says, Josh, leave the video games out of this. I'm 40 with a family. I still play every night. It's such a positive hobby for me and my daughter. Yeah, but Tim, that's different. See, you're not talking about it in terms of like the people who spend like 6-8 hours playing video games still. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the person who has like a 2.5 hour allotment, or they're playing with their kids, or like it's something, a family thing. Like I know. Now, here's a game I miss. I'll ask you guys out there. Am I the only person who would go to house parties and people would play like Super Smash Brothers or Mario Kart, or like there might be like a family get together and like you all would like cycle in and out of playing like a fighting game like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, or oh my goodness, what was the other game? But like you would be like you all like take turns and like be like a family thing people do together, like play video games as a group. Tim is almost, I'm not criticizing that. I'm talking about the person who is like a single dude like me and they're spending 6-8 hours so playing video games. That's what I can't comprehend. That's what I can't wrap my head around. We'll wrap up the show. Coming up next, Sports Bash. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank in Seattle City. And we are streaming live on YouTube next at 973 ESPN. All right, Josh, wrapping up the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Let's rapid fire some of these texts on the Whalers RV text board. Andy Mack at EHC says, Smash Brothers and Mario Kart are still super popular house games. Now that we all have kids, we all have all Nintendo Switches, so everyone plays. That's cool. Rico says, all those games are great unless, the bad job by me. Rico, try again next time. Texture says, this is totally what Cavoli Jr.'s fiance pulled the bag out with 20 ping pongs was all about. Girls also play beer pong. It's the beginning of the ultimate dating championship, says Joe in the Villas. I mean, you could also do Battle of the Sexes. You could also do that, but I digress. Thanks everybody texting in throughout the show. Thanks to Adam Caplan, Frank Klose, Nick Earnshaw, Oscar Budejen, all of you listening on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody.